Hey kids, the following program, although edited, contains scenes of sexuality, graphic violence,
ritual satanic behavior,
the supernatural, explicit sequences. We're all familiar with them. Some material may be unsuitable for people unaccustomed to viewing films so explicitly presented.
Only you can judge if you're mature enough to witness the frank and revealing scenes.
They wish to consider whether it should be viewed by under 17.
Parental discretion is advised.
Well, howdy, Schlockaholics. Welcome back to yet another episode of those classic Cutz, baby. Today we are here to talk about a werewolf flick, and we brought a couple werewolves along the way. We got Adam and Abby from the Hormonal Werewolves Cubed podcast.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good, especially with you guys here tonight. This is going to be a hell of a discussion.
Yeah, dude, it's an honor. Thanks.
Fitting. Yeah, well, for sure, dude. You guys were nice enough to have me on there to talk about some Puppet Masters, so the least I could do is have you on here to talk about some werewolf flicks. So we picked a pretty good one for the evening, but before we get into that, we got to introduce our other guest here. We got Forrest Bennett, long-time caller, definitely not the first-time listener. This dude's been around for a bit. Many good stories have gone down. We need to get a proper Schlockaholics interview under our belt with you, Forrest, because
yeah,
a lot of cool stuff.
But yeah, it's great to be back on and joining some new faces tonight.
You should definitely listen to their podcast, dude. It has lit a new fire under my ass. It's easily one of my favorite podcasts I've ever listened to.
That's
as
awesome.
Far as like horror stuff goes, it really does just hit the spot. I don't know what it is. I'll always be a bigger fan of, I guess, less produced, sort of proper, sincere indie podcasts than I will be of anything that's, where if you got a mixing board, I just don't fucking subscribe. Yeah. We don't need to be friends.
Right.
That's never gonna happen.
No, we're having a good time with it.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, man. I think the spirit of this show is definitely captured also in the spirit of your guys' show, which is just going back to stuff that you used to rent, used to watch as kids, and enjoying it, talking about it with friends. So that's kind of what it's all about. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, I guess some people would consider it the definitive modern werewolf flick. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that, but it's certainly one of them. The Lycanthrophile podcast. There you go. For one time only, or well, I suppose.
I'm sure they have strong opinion with a podcast like that. I'm sure they have some pretty strong opinions on
what makes a good werewolf.
Yeah,
yeah, and they might be on a registry somewhere. I don't know. I don't know if I like that name, dude. It just
they can't turn into a werewolf 20 feet from a school.
No.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about American Werewolf in London. This is a movie I'm sure we all have some history with. Before we jump into that, we gotta put a little seasoning in the goulash, give the people a little bit of that flavor with that trailer there. Now, it pains me to say that I had to, err on the side of efficiency and not use the actual classic trailer for this film.
Oh, really?
Because it just pretty much spoils the entire fucking thing, even though we're going to do that anyways. But I didn't spend hours capturing this footage and editing it down and uploading it so that this fucking trailer could ruin my entire night. So I went and I found this dude that did like a modern trailer for the movie, and that's what we're going to be running right now. Then we'll do the tail of the tape, and then we'll get into our history with the film and the first impressions there. But yeah, modern trailer for American Werewolf in London. Here we go.
Did you hear that? What was it? A coyote. There aren't any coyotes in England.
What happened to them?
Well, the police report said they were attacked by an escaped lunatic. Must have been a very powerful man.
Jack and I were not attacked by a man.
It's an animal. A wolf. Did he say a wolf?
Yes, I believe he did.
Did you get a good look at the man who attacked you?
Doctor, my memory is fine. It's my sanity I'm beginning to worry about.
You've never had bad dreams before?
Well, sure, as a kid, but never so real, never so weird.
I'm going to look into your eyes.
My friend Jack was just here.
Your dead friend, Jack.
Hi, David. He told me that I will become a monster in 2 days.
The supernatural, the power of darkness, it's all true. Please believe me.
Believe what? That tomorrow night, beneath the full moon, I'll sprout hair and fangs and eat people?
You'd be surprised what horrors a man is capable of.
Are you all right now?
I don't know. I'll let you know the next full moon. I'm a werewolf.
You're gonna change. You'll kill people. You'll become...
I know. A monster.
David, don't lose control!
Control? What control?
David, I can help you.
No, I'm not safe to be with. You gotta stay away from me. Run!
And everybody dies in it.
American Werewolf in London was directed and written by John Landis. It was produced by George Folsey Jr. I'm assuming that he made, George Folsey Sr. proud with this one. Cinematography was by Robert Painter. It was edited by Malcolm Campbell. It had music by Elmer Bernstein. It was distributed by Universal Pictures with a release date of August 21st, 1981. Runs a cool 97 minutes, had a budget of $5.8 million, and made $62 million at the box office, if Wikipedia is to be believed. It stars David Naughton, Jenny Agutter. Is that how you say that?
I think so.
I'll go with it. Griffin Dunn or Dune? I don't know.
Dunn.
I think Dunn.
Griffin Dunn. Brother
John
of
Woodbine.
Dominique.
Yep. Also, quite a few names in the supporting cast. Frank Oz.
There's a lot of fucking people in there. Kermit the Frog is in this movie.
Yep. Brian Glover, Rick Mayall.
Wait, is he the Kermit or is he just Miss Piggy? I don't know. Who can keep
Frank Oz is Miss Piggy.
It had special effects by Rick Baker and Company, who later went on to do The Howling and Thriller, and was one of only one people to win Academy Awards for Best Special Effects for a werewolf movie with
Werewolf.
this and 2010's The Wolfman, which I still haven't fucking seen. Need to make up for that real soon. Filming locations were just all over the UK. There was way too many of them to write in my notes, so I just said that all over the UK because that's pretty much what's going on there. This movie fucking rules. And again, like I said, prefacing this, we probably all have a rich history with this film. We're going to let the werewolves go first, and we're going to go in alphabetical order. So, Abby, take it away. What's your history with this film? When did you first see it? How did it strike you at the time?
I actually don't remember a time in my life where I have not seen this movie. Now, it came out, I was 8 years old. So I know I did not see it in the movies, but I know that I think they ran it on HBO somewhere right thereafter. We used to just get all the movies right afterwards, and I think we rented it. And just my entire childhood is built with these movies that nobody can talk shit about because there is like a very strong nostalgia drug for me. This one, it's you've got the main guys. I don't want to take too much time on this, but you got the two main guys who are so charming. They're like everybody you want to be friends with. They're best friends. They're touring Europe. They're eaten by werewolves. I mean, everything I wanted to do when I was 8 years old. But yes, no, I can't remember a time where I didn't know this movie. It's been a favorite.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's sort of the boat I'm in. We'll get into the weeds with that once we get to mine. But yeah, what about you, Adam? What's sort of your history with this?
Well, I think the first time I ever saw this movie, it was like on like a Up All Night. I think it was like when Gilbert Gottfried was the host. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was the Gilbert Gottfried era. But like, I'm a total like Halloween Universal monster purist. Like vampires, werewolves, mummy, ghost. Like that is 100% my bag and has been ever since I was a little kid. So, I always was trying to seek out, modern takes on vampires, werewolves, that kind of thing. And, I stumbled upon this late one night, on my little tube TV in my room, and, was absolutely hooked. And, yeah, it's been a favorite horror movie of mine, if not my favorite horror movie, since I was in high school.
I think this crosses genres for me personally. Like, it's in my top 5 favorite movie, not necessarily just horror.
Yeah, transcends categorization.
Yeah.
We all have those where it's like, sure, I could be watching like some highbrow shit or take some sort of a heartfelt masterpiece to a desert island, but Mac and Me would do just as well.
Anytime a kid goes off a cliff in a wheelchair.
Fuck yeah, dude. And if I can
Mo's
find
there.
one on that island, I'm going to send it in his honor at some point, because I'm not talking to a fucking volleyball. So, Forrest, what's sort of your history with American Werewolf, bud?
Okay, so, God, I'm trying to remember. I do remember the first time. I think, I was like marginally aware of it as a kid. But then I remember like watching. I remember it being. Actually, there were two. Actually, I remember like seeing it being discussed on VH1, on a couple of different VH1 shows. First on because VH1 they did their 100 greatest one-hit wonders, and they covered. They talked about, and David Naughton's "Making It" was on the list. And they talked about how after Making It, he did American Werewolf in London, and then they covered American Werewolf in London on I Love the '80s. So that's kind of where I came a little more, like, paid more attention to what it was, and was like, okay, yeah, I should probably go and I should go seek this out, and also also a lot of the people who were involved with the movie. John Landis, I was a huge, because Animal House is one of my top 5 movies of all time. And also Blues Brothers, Coming to America, Kentucky Fried Movie, Trading Places. Like, he's done so many. Like, I was already a huge fan of his work as a comedy director. And with the rest of the cast, Jenny Agutter I already knew her from Child's Play 2. Brian Glover from Alien. What was that?
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, she was Andy's foster mom in the second movie.
Yeah.
Brian Glover from Alien, as Superintendent Andrews in Alien 3. Rick Mayall from Drop Dead Fred and the Young Ones, and then of course, Frank Oz. With everything he's done from the Muppets to Star Wars to like all his directorial efforts.
Let's just take a moment to appreciate how fucking weird Frank Oz makes this movie for like
Yeah,
a second,
right?
or two. As soon as he says "Hey" or whatever in that fucking
That
Frank
voice.
Oz voice, it just ruins the movie for like
Oh, no.
It's like, yeah,
30 seconds,
like I listen to every time I hear him talk, I can hear Bert from Sesame Street.
That's
yeah, it's
funny.
impossible not to hear Muppets come out of that guy's
Mr.
face.
Kessler, get a hold of yourself.
He's got a bit of a weird look, and then the way he is in this, like Adam pointed out, is pretty bizarre too. Like, dude's friend just died. What do you mean, get a hold of yourself?
Yeah,
Right.
It's kind of a fucked up scene where that guy's like, just listen, we don't want to make any waves here. All right, I'm trying to help you out. So it makes some sense, but maybe just wait till after you've broken the news to him that his friend is fucking dead.
Yeah. And that he's
Anyway,
been in
continue,
coma
Forrest.
for 3 weeks.
So I think from that point, I didn't get to see it like as a kid or like in high school or anything. But when I got to college, my college library carried it on DVD, so I borrowed it from there and watched it.
Right on.
And I was immediately a fan. The special effects work, the cast, the music, it was a lot funnier. I mean, it was a lot funnier than I thought it would be. But at the same time, that shouldn't surprise me, given that it's John Landis. And it's become it's just become a must watch for me every October.
As it should be. It's a good movie to run during that time of the month when it's all wet and leafy and everything's dying and I don't know, those songs that are on the soundtrack sound a lot better during that time of the year too.
Yeah.
A great soundtrack.
For me, American Werewolf was something, again, much like you, sort of a combination of you and Adam and Abby, I guess. Like, I was always aware of the movie as a little kid because you would see that, like, transformation reference sometimes. And I think it's even in some Universal sizzle reels that would be, like, at the beginning of a horror movie that you would rent or something. There would be that sizzle reel of, like, different clips from movies from the production company. And I feel like that scene where he's like on all fours or whatever was in the sizzle reel. So I was aware of the shit. And then I'm sure I saw that VH1 thing and everything like that. In high school, I finally got a copy of it because I became aware of places like Suncoast Video and things like that. So I was going around actively buying horror films all the time instead of just letting my parents.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mo. I forgot to mention also that prior to this movie, seeing this movie, I also, because John Landis also directed the video for Thriller. So that was another like reason, and Rick Baker did special effects on that too. So another like
true enough,
reason for me to check this movie out.
I'm sure I'd probably seen the Thriller video by the point that I saw American Werewolf, but I don't know if I'd seen too much other John Landis stuff, like maybe Animal House. I don't even think Blues Brothers yet. That was like later in high school when I became in love with Blues Brothers for a while. Dude, for the first like 6 years of my channel, I wore sunglasses all the time. Like those same Blues Brothers sunglasses. It was dorky as fuck. But fun, I just really liked this movie though, right from the onset. I mean, it's hard not to like this if you grew up on any sort of other werewolf movie. I'd definitely seen The Howling before I'd seen this as well.
Really?
Which might explain why I prefer The Howling a little bit, but I think it's more down to my sweaty, sleazy sensibilities of shitty films that, The Howling just feels grosser.
It's
so
grittier.
That's why I like the movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely grittier. I mean, I love The Howling. That is if you go genre pieces, it's in my top 3 werewolf movie. But
same here.
This feels like a werewolf movie you could watch with your parents. The Howling feels like something that you might feel a little weird if they walked in.
It's more for the fan. It's more of a. It's one of those movies it's more for the hardcore horror fans.
Yeah, just little idiots fucking trying to.
Until that shower scene, then I'd make an excuse to leave the room.
Yeah,
I'm not watching that shit.
That does go over long, and it's in my notes that it is not the length that is suggested for Mixed Company. The love scene in this film goes a bit long, but John Landis explains that himself by saying that pretty much he had a nurse fantasy as a kid, so when he finally got a chance to do it in a movie, why the fuck not?
Why the fuck not? She said something like the day she filmed the shower scene, like all of a sudden there was like 30 extra men on the set that were never there before. Like, oh no, we're working, we're changing light bulbs,
and this is why they have They now have intimacy coordinators on film sets.
Yes, because this was 1981. I guess this came out. So
81.
Yeah,
and also John Landis was probably, God knows, he was probably coked out of his mind back then.
I know I would have been. It's I don't know. I mean, I feel like she tells that story pretty fondly though. So it's not,
Oh, I don't think it's something that's horribly upsetting for her, but
yeah.
I think honestly, if the vibe is right, and everybody's in agreement, intimacy coordinators nowadays maybe aren't needed all of the time. But they probably aren't even used all the time. I'm sure it's one of those things where if someone's like feeling uncomfortable, they just bring one in, and that's.
I think they have them just in case you need them.
Yeah,
but I know he said to get the R rating, he had to tone down the sex scene significantly, and he also had to cut
down like
really?
That was cut down to get an R rating, and he had to remove a scene where Jack's eating the toast, and the toast comes out of his neck. Cut that out.
Which is a shame. I think
which is a shame. And then he did say that he had to edit out where the 3 homeless men get killed. I guess that was much more extensive and audiences like freaked out. But he said he always regretted cutting those scenes because he felt like I need to see that cut.
Yeah, like wasting Rick Baker's talent.
Yeah, but.
Which is interesting because that whole thing with Rick Baker kind of having beef with him for a minute about that is you know, like him thinking he wasted his time making all the appliances for the transformation sequence until he saw it like play in front of a crowd of people.
Which is just
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot happens in post with stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully Rick's pleased with it these days. It's interesting they'd be offended by or like triggered by the homeless person sequence too. I mean,
I don't know how gory it was
back in these days and stuff.
Yeah.
They just like throw a can of beans.
This movie is really light on gore, really.
There is not
really
a lot
not
of
that offensive. I mean, it's
bloody.
I was watching it with my mom.
It's
and
bloody, but like even though
parts like that,
those scenes are so quick, the cuts are so quick, you can barely, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of just sort of subconsciously can figure out what's going on, but like they don't linger on any of those shots.
Yeah,
right. I did find out a very interesting fact about why there's no full frontal nudity for David Naughton.
Yeah. Let's talk about some foreskin, shall
yes,
we?
he told Landis that he was not circumcised, and his character is supposed to be Jewish, so he had to make sure when cutting any of the sex scenes or the transformation scenes that he didn't get any full frontal because he's not circumcised, and he thought it would ruin the.
I mean, in 81, was it a commonplace to have full frontal nude scenes?
For women,
not well for men, not as common. But it would have taken
like that was originally in the plans, and then they were like, "Oh shit, foreskin."
Well,
yeah, maybe not in a lot of
naked.
mainstream horror, but there was a lot of dick and tits in 1981.
Yeah.
Right out of
there were a lot of
dick.
dick. There was a lot of dick. You had to seek out the dick.
Lot. I could show you many films with just man sausage. I could show you a film where a dude's fucking dick gets made into a hogie at the end of it.
Wow.
Okay?
Oh, blood-sucking freaks.
Yes, exactly. Of course, Forrest knows what I'm talking about.
Actually,
like actual dick or like prosthetic.
Prosthetic, but I believe one of the actresses called it the cold cock sandwich.
Yeah, it's that cold cut. It's glorious.
And I found out he got fired from Dr. Pepper because he was nude in the movie. They didn't renew his
show his dick. So
really,
no. At that point, they would have just said go for it.
I would say, didn't this movie come out like a few years after the Dr. Pepper commercial had been retired?
But I guess they
but
he still had a contract with them, and then they because he did do the commercials before because they said that they were like dancing around singing, "I'm a werewolf, you're a werewolf, what would you like to be?" And of course,
in theory, if he hadn't shown his pasty white butt, they could have done like some werewolf themed commercials for Dr. Pepper with him.
Seriously,
and probably sold a fuck ton of soda, you know. So it's on, you know, their mistake. I mean, really, his ass was out for like 2 seconds. Everything.
It had to have sucked though for him though. That had to have been that nice little paycheck to just like rely on, you know, like that sweet Dr. Pepper money, and then one day it's just taken from you.
No more Dr. Pepper.
He did okay, all things considered, with this film, but yeah, you don't know that's going to be the case. So losing your fucking, you know, lifeline because you got naked for John Landis doesn't seem like something I would have been too hyped on at the time. But you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, movie basically opens on a couple of kids riding with some sheep like you do on a vacation, on a backpacking vacation. It's kind of classic hitchhiker shit to ride with some livestock. I feel like.
I love how they all say goodbye to the sheep afterwards.
Yeah,
they're so cute.
Hell yeah. This was the early 80s, so several of those sheep could have ended up in early black metal videos being unfortunately horribly butchered on stage and things like that. But you know, I like to think they all lived happy lives and got some of that John Landis money as well. I doubt it.
No, they probably got made into haggis.
Oh,
that seems
that's
more
insult
likely.
to injury, my friend.
I do love how the opening scene with them walking has like ad-libbed dialogue. You know, it's fully natural. It immediately, like between that and that opening sequence with Blue Moon or whatever it is, just playing over the opening credits while it just shows those shots of the moors. Like it sucks you right into this fucking movie. I don't care who you are, how distracted you are. You sit down, you watch American Werewolf. If you can just focus on it through the opening credits and the walking scene, you're into the movie for the rest of the runtime.
Yeah,
I love their relationship.
Their chemistry
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're both
Off
so
the charts.
charming.
You
and
really feel like they're best friends, and
Mhm.
they've known each other for a really long
Forever.
time. And there's like, you know, there's a bromance there. Like those
Yeah.
dudes like
Yeah.
love each other, and they're like besties.
Yep.
For
Hetero
sure.
life mates.
Hetero
I
life.
tend to have a lot of transient guests on my shows just because of the nature of it and my time zone placement. But you guys have that sort of kinship. Like I could see you, Abby, and Ryan.
Traveling England and
Yeah,
steering
being in a
clear of the
similar scene in
moors.
a movie.
That's awesome. Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
I've
like if I
actually
ever
been
needed
to
to
a
cast
couple
some
places.
High compliment.
backpackers to have like a really organic conversation and then get slaughtered at the beginning of my movie, I would cast you guys. So you know, they basically are just dropped off in the middle of the moors. They're on their way somewhere. I don't know if I've ever paid attention to this movie that much outside of the atmosphere to learn what the fuck they're actually doing here.
I think they were just. I mean, I just assumed they were just backpacking around Europe.
Just seeing the world, eh?
Yeah. Jack wants to get to Italy or Rome, and David wanted to see England. And so that's why it's all his fault. Jack keeps blaming him because they could be in Rome right now where it's not raining and it's not cold and they're not wet. And, but that's what makes them so awesome. Cause you know that, I mean, hell, even after what happens to Jack, he's still giving him shit from like the other side.
Yeah, he's the best character of the movie outside of the
Oh,
Doctor,
for sure.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that bar is somewhere near Claire and Rich, actually.
Yeah. This is
where they filmed the slaughtered lamb.
Yeah, they said they've been there before. But this introductory scene with them getting out and everything, I mean, this is really like Jack's time to shine. Like Griffin Dune is awesome in this beginning. Done.
No,
Yeah,
it's
he's
Dune.
awesome.
He's named
It's
after the
done.
Stanley Kubrick movie. I have
Dominic
declared it.
and Dominique Dunn.
Father,
Griffin
the
Dunn.
sleeper has awakened. Okay, it's Dune.
I love that movie.
Thank you for the ride, sure. You have lovely sheep. Like he's just
He's a great
hilarious.
character. Maybe one of my favorite horror characters, like in any horror movie.
Yeah,
Jack.
And he's
it
talking
started
about
my
that.
lifelong crush of Griffin Dunn and David Naughton in this movie, like my whole life. I
might
see them
even
now
have
and
a
I'm like,
crush on him in this movie. I don't know. I like him a lot. Like his little smile. You cheeky
His little
boy.
smile.
I just want to pinch your fucking cheeks. Man. Pinch those little things.
even when he's got like half a jaw hanging, it don't matter. He's still cute.
I'll pinch. I'll put it back for him. You know.
So yeah, so they wander to the old slaughtered lamb, thinking they'll get out of the elements, get something hot to eat. They're met with a little less than
enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
not
cold
so-
reception.
A little bit.
You know.
It's almost like you expect to hear the record just screeching on a jukebox somewhere, but instead it's darts. But
and chess,
which I like. You know, and I think that this is pretty cool because, you know, from what I was reading behind the scenes, that's kind of how a lot of the English people treated the American cast, was sort of like that. So the whole vibe at that bar was probably very similar to the vibe
a lot of locals
everywhere that they were going around during this, and that's kind of crazy. They almost make friends too, because they make that joke about the Alamo and then the bald meanie guy. I don't know what his name is in the movie. I just have him in the notes as Bald Meanie.
Bald Meanie guy.
I mean, honestly, for me, he's Superintendent Andrews.
There you go. That guy, you know, clearly is like trying to just be friendly with them by telling the whole follow-up joke to the Alamo thing.
Yeah.
And Jack royally fucks it up.
He just
by
ruins it.
asking about the werewolf stuff. Like if that hadn't happened, they probably would have directed them some other way and sent them on their way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, he has to be a fucking dork and ask about the stupid pentacle on the wall. I mean, I might have been.
It was so obvious though. Like, how could you not ask about it? Like, maybe
Right
not like
there.
that. Maybe like
That's what I'm saying. I might have asked about
elbow
it, but,
someone
like,
and be like, "Hey,
casually
what's going
later
on?"
What is that
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, maybe the barmaid even. Like,
Yeah.
what's up with that? Because that's usually who you ask at a bar, in my experience. If you want information about shit around the bar, is like someone that fucking works at the
Somebody
bar.
that works there. Yeah. Good point. the bathroom attendant or somebody.
Yeah, I mean it's their decor, so
I'm sure they have
someone
one.
hung it there, you know. But he blurts it out and fucks the whole thing up, and
You
the
made me
vibe turns
miss.
sour again. I've never missed this board. What the fuck? That's not even true, dude. Like, let's if we're gonna before we even go further in the plot, let's just discuss how much bullshit is behind that statement. So you're just born good at darts? What's
Yep.
going on there?
Well,
Maybe he got good before he went to that board. He says he never misses on that
I
board.
still feel like the chances of you never missing a new board have to be absolutely zero. You know, like even the best dart player in the world in a new environment might sketch a shot or something like that. I don't know. It just feels like a boastful statement.
I mean, you have
And
to royally fuck up to totally miss the board. You have to be like.
We've all done it though.
I can do it.
Yeah, but
I am terrible.
That's true. We have. I've definitely done it.
Alternative boards to be playing, you know, unless he had one at home. But
I'm not. I'm by no means a dart connoisseur or.
Listen, okay, if he got that good at home, then that he's never missed the board at the Slaughtered Lamb, that means you practice that much at home just to show up somebody at this bar.
Well, that part of it, I 100% believe, because there was nothing going on in this town.
Yeah, that's
nothing.
all they have.
That's fair. I hadn't thought
they probably, they had sheep beauty contests and shit.
I think
like,
because the way these dudes get dropped off so casually, it feels like this place is like closer to civilization. But I think you're probably right. There's
like that was probably the highlight of the fucking week, and then everyone's like, "Dude, good job at darts the other night." And like that made his week.
I won my first wife on this board. Yeah. I don't know how the fucking things go in that neighborhood, but holy shit. The barmaid tries pretty hard to warn them not to let these guys leave. Like, it's basically murder. I love how they juxtapose them having that conversation about the morality of the whole thing and like what they're doing there with the guys getting like wandering off and getting attacked, you know. And then it's just made deeper and more fucked up later that you figure out that they like stage a whole series of events to make it look like it was like a lunatic or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just so
and that
fucked
the
up.
Police have never been involved, and that who actually fixed him up if no doctor saw him? Did they take care of it? It's never.
I mean, I mean, when you get to brass tacks, the conspiracy, the deep running conspiracy that had to be permeating through not only that town, but Scotland Yard, to like the doctor says at one point that the medical records went missing. The autopsy records went missing.
Yeah, everything's gone. There's no record that he was ever there.
Cooked the whole situation.
And
like
obviously this has been going on for a long time. The
multiple witnesses,
multiple witnesses of the crazy
crazy person. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And see, one thing I don't get is like at a certain point in that with the villagers, it's got to be beneficial to let someone know what's happening. I mean, and the whole time that barmaid's making some real good points, and then those other guys are like, just let's not tell anyone. I feel like there's elements of that aren't really fleshed out, because then there's that scene later where the dart guy tries to confess to the doctor, and the other guy's like, just shut the fuck up, and the doctor just leaves it at that.
I think that they feel
no further
culpable. So if they pretend it didn't happen, like when she says, "Did you hear that?" No, we didn't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to keep telling myself this is not real. I don't have to tell anybody. He says we should have never let the guy leave. That's where they made the mistake. If they would have kept David in their town, they could have kept it contained, or killed David, because at that point the bloodline would be gone. But this guy had to be, or the original werewolf had to be going for quite a while. I mean, he was an old man an old lunatic, but I guess he could have been bit at any point. But chances are he's been ravaging that town for many years.
Yeah. It makes that makes sense, and it's, but still, I mean, obviously this is spread beyond local when you got 2 American tourists that get fucked up by the thing. Like, I think it's at that point that maybe, I don't know. I would probably be thinking about just admitting it. I doubt the old man was the first werewolf they dealt with. You feel me? Like it'd probably been through several people.
Well, anybody that he's taken out, yeah.
Their motives for letting them go are a little hazy to me, to be honest with you. It seems like that should have been the last resort. Like these,
Letting them
like
go
these
on the
kids are on to us that like our secret is the world's going to find out about us. Let's get them on the road so that they get taken out by the werewolf. Like it seems like there would have been a plan A, a plan. Yeah. Like, why don't you just keep them at the bar, get them shit faced, and then they can't go anywhere. Yeah. Like it's not like they didn't have options.
Yeah.
Other than
but instead
get out of here and go get
don't
eaten.
go through the moors, but see you.
They had options.
Like
they just
I mean, I think honestly, the old dude just assumed if they stayed on the road and got the hell out of there and they never had to look back, that they should be okay.
It's a hell of a chance.
That's a hell of a chance. And it did not pan out well for either for anybody in the situation, but nobody.
Yeah, they kind of do the opposite of the the doomy gas station grandpa in like a Hills Have Eyes or Friday the 13th,
or the Harbinger.
Like, stay on the main road. They're
you're all
like,
gonna die.
Go
you're all
Morris,
doomed.
It's more of a suggestion and less.
But they do tell them stay on the road, stay away from the moors. Mind the moon. And where do they go? To the moors, off the road,
right under the moon.
Right under the moon. You had one job. 3 jobs, man.
All right, let's check out our comments here real quick before we dive into the meat of this next section. We got some stuff from country. Good werewolf.
Read that to me.
Sure.
Definitely want to hear
American Werewolf was way better. JK.
That Fighting World's right there.
An Adam Sandler movie. I don't know what he's referring to there, but
what does it say?
Like
four art house shorts and one Adam Sandler movie.
I don't know what that is. That's why you should read the script before you sign on. Yeah, that's always good advice. Country says this is number 1, number 2, The Howling, 3rd, Wolfman, 4th, Bad Moon, 5th, Dog Soldiers, 6th, Howl, and 7th, the original Wolfman.
No Silver Bullet?
Yeah, no Silver Bullet.
Yeah. Oh, I would actually put Silver Bullet over the Wolfman, the remake. I didn't love that movie.
Agreed.
I'm not the biggest Howling fan. It's another a story for another day. But I'm not the biggest fan of Howling.
I love the fucking Howling.
Or what about Ginger Snaps? What is Ginger? What do you put Ginger Snaps?
Yeah, good
I like Ginger Snaps a lot.
Ginger Snaps is good. I'm one of those weirdos really likes The Curse. No matter what cut of it is. I just think
The Curse.
Goofy as fuck, and
it's
I love
a fun movie. I used to say I didn't care for werewolf movies, and then I started listing the movies, and I realized I kind of do. Have you guys seen Dark Phases? Night of the Wolf or whatever it's called.
I have not.
Late Phases.
Late Phases. Yeah,
that's the one I was just about to mention. Like, I think that's one of my favorite modern.
That's in my top
because it's just so fucking sick, dude.
Yeah.
And then another really good one is Big Bad Wolf. So if you ever wanted to see the fucking the angry dad, like the bad dad from Kindergarten Cop as a talking werewolf, Big Bad Wolf is what you need to check out. It's fucking ridiculous and bad, but also a great time.
I'm looking at it right now.
He's basically playing the same character from Kindergarten Cop, just as
Richard Tyson.
Yeah, that guy with the weird
So Richard
lips
Tyson's the werewolf? That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the fucking werewolf.
I need to see this movie.
And the werewolf talks the whole time, so he's like talking shit to the kids.
He talks.
Werewolf, and
like Wolf Cop.
Highbrow says if Chiller didn't play any werewolf movies, I didn't watch them. They played low budget 2000s movies, not real classics. I mean, some of those are classics. Ryan's in there. Highbrow says if your favorite band thing, erasing where the ideas came from. What the fuck?
I can't read those. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I'm following what he's talking about there. I don't remember.
They're having a different conversation
about that. Maybe there's like another person I'm not seeing in the chat. They're probably blocked for a reason. Canadian boy Ryan, he says, like Michael, I too prefer Paris. Unlike Michael, I'm not joking. We know. We found that out the hard way, bro.
So cute.
No, it is fun though. Country says he watched Chiller. They did show some werewolf movies, but they were not very good ones, so really didn't miss anything special. Highbrow still misses that shit, and I don't know. I mean, I think they still show special stuff on some of that curated programming. You just got to be in the right mood for it. I think there's a golden period for all of that for us. Like, I have a hard time getting into the new Joe Bob stuff because I remember Joe Bob on TV back in the day, and like having my first beer. You know,
that's a whole other episode. I can't watch Joe Bob.
No,
I just can't.
Oh, I still watch Last Driving whenever I can.
Me too.
Plus, I'm
and I don't hate it all,
like,
dude. It's just
the laughter and like, you know how the sorry, I know we're segueing into this, but I have to say it. Like in the old Joe Bob, like when you would hear the crew members laugh, it was genuine.
Yes,
like they were actually laughing. Now it's completely. It might as well be a canned studio, a laugh track studio audience, and like the banter between him and Darcy is just like
feels forced.
I'm just like, what am I watching? Like, what is this?
Yeah, back
this
in the day, it
is
had that thrown
terrible
together cable access sort of, but with a better budget vibe to it. I mean, like a lot of the other horror hosts that we watch now, I don't know, it's a little too polished and like regimented, and it just feels forced. Yeah,
I still love it.
I love that people still love it. And
I still watch it every week. So
I'd rather spend a Saturday watching Svengoolie than I would whatever the fuck.
I mean, I want to love it. I just don't.
I want to love it.
Because Svengoolie never got popular. So
I love Svengoolie.
It's still fucking genuine. Like, that guy is still just a gigantic fucking dork that somehow has.
That's great. That's
TV
beautiful.
access.
There's something beautiful to be said about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Papa Pete, absolute fucking Canadian legend, says, absolute classic. Everything was great in this movie. The music, the effects, the dark humor. David Naughton, Jenny Agutter were great. But Griffin Dunn stole the show. I would agree.
Yeah.
And I would also agree with JR. Late Phases is awesome in the spirit of the Howling franchise. True stuff. Chiller would be cool, Highbrow says, and then the Hatchet movies ruined him.
Aw.
I mean, I don't know why, but I liked Hatchet a
I
lot,
do
the
too.
first one, and then Hatchet 2 was fun, and then I think I just got like too drunk for the other ones because I barely remember them, but I do own them.
You do need to go back and watch Victor Crowley.
I'll admit, I've seen them. I think they're all I've seen them a couple times, but I don't know. I mean, I don't hate them, but they're not like, I'm not like a diehard. I've just never been a diehard.
I love Adam Green. I love his humor. But in Victor Crowley, I need you to go back and watch this because Felissa Rose has the greatest death scene in any movie.
Give us the bullet points.
So she's always on her phone. She's like an agent, and she's out there, even though it's dangerous. And he comes up and he grabs her while she's on the phone, and he rips her arm off, and he shoves the phone up her twat and out her mouth.
Yes.
Oh god.
Yeah, I guess I did watch that.
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I'm pretty sure I watched all of them, but like I said, it was like during a marathon. I owned Hatchet 1 through 3 for a long time before I got. Is Victor Crowley the fourth one?
Fourth one.
So I'm guessing that's what inspired the marathon, and I don't know. The first two are the only ones that like stuck in my brain, I guess. I don't know. I liked Hatchet. I think Hatchet and like that show that Adam Green had were sort of the last blast of
Holliston.
Like
Hollister. Holliston, yeah.
Holliston, yeah.
Odorous from Guar would be on that and shit.
Yeah, Kane Hodder and Danielle Harris made appearance. Kane Hodder, Danielle Harris, and Tony Todd also made appearances.
And what's his face? That did Jason in the remake.
Derek Mears.
Derek Mears was on it. I fucking loved it. I absolutely loved it. I asked him recently if he's
of like mainstream horror fandom that was genuinely nostalgic. You know what I mean?
And you've got
where like now
D.
it
Snyder.
feels like they just do that shit to sell dumbass movie tickets and popcorn buckets. Like back then it felt like the dudes like Adam Green were still keeping retro horror alive with stuff like that.
I mean, true fans to me. But I loved D. Snyder in that show because he was, what was he in, a Van Halen cover band, and he was like Always doing high kicks in his little leather and being a total like always
Fuck
hitting
yeah.
on Adam. It made me laugh a lot. But anyway,
I could see that happening with this Adam in real life right now. You know,
That's
so you
true.
never know. Beware those high kicks, man. Just like the moon. They bring bad tidings.
Adam Green did Frozen, didn't he? Not
yes.
that's
Yes, he
probably
did.
my
That
favorite
fucking Pixar movie.
Adam Green
That's
project.
a great movie.
No, the one about the skiers who get stuck on a lift.
Okay.
And get eaten by wolves and shit.
Isn't there a part where like a chick's fucking finger breaks while she's trying to climb the mountain? Or is that might be Vertical Limit.
I was gonna say that's not that movie, but
You guys remember Vertical Limit?
I
saw that when it came out, but I haven't watched it since.
It might be the prototype to Frozen because it's like that whole thing, but 12 years earlier or some shit.
It was a cool premise for a movie. Like we had all we legit. If you've ever gone skiing or snowboarding before, you've thought about like what would I fucking do if I got stuck up here right now? You know, like that thought's gone through everybody's mind.
It goes through my mind a couple of times a week when I'm fishing, where I'm like, nope.
What happens if?
You know, that's a search and rescue call, is what that is. You know, so I'm gonna just walk.
I'm
down
in
here
danger.
like a fat dad.
I'm in
cast from
danger.
the docks, you know. So yeah, you know, pretty much we dive from this point into the fucking movie, and we're gonna start banging this thing out like the wretched little beast that it
Little
is.
horse that we are.
The werewolf attack. I mean, this thing is fucking horrifying. You know, they're just traipsing through the moors, and one dude takes a tumble, and then all of a sudden they're just getting savaged by a beast. I probably subconsciously run through this scenario every single time I go night fishing, because there's like mountain lions and sometimes packs of coyotes down where I fish at, you know, and it's like, oh god, like every time I'm walking across the parking lot until I get to my secluded
What would
little
I
fishing
do if?
spots, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, thank god I'm not wearing a bubble coat, you know.
I mean, he does take off at the beginning and then
I love
thinks
those bubble
better of it
coats.
to come back for his friend, but I don't begrudge
You're warm
him
as
that
fuck,
because
man.
I don't know what I would do in that situation.
I don't know.
I've
Like
done the same thing. I think
I've never seen a werewolf like
ahead.
the werewolf attack. He's so what's the even word? Rabid, ferocious, like just off the chain, like
Vicious.
yeah, just so that attack is just so vicious.
Mm-hmm. As are really all of them. I mean, you think about everybody he attacks later.
Yeah,
There's
it's all
no
real
thought
visceral.
behind it. There's no
rationale.
Yeah, it's just
animalistic, like ripping and tearing and
Yeah, just like a feeding frenzy, you know.
exactly
do.
like Jaws, but you know, furry.
a furrier.
It's, I think, handled very well. You know, a lot of werewolf attacks and other werewolf flicks, they're maybe even a little bit too human. You
We're
know?
gonna need a bigger road. Because they
Get it.
You're right. Well, I mean, if the road was bigger, maybe they would have still been on it. That's, that
How do
does
you know
make
you
some
left the
sense.
road? Yeah.
But basically, you know, he wakes up from this attack, doesn't know what the fuck went on. He's just kind of stuck in the hospital. And he eventually, you know, in pretty short order, starts having some fairly weird dreams. I mean, that's
Wicked
essentially
nightmares.
where the movie goes from there. You know, he's...
Can we talk about the Nazi?
Okay, let's talk about the foreskin again for a second.
Okay.
There is a moment where...
Or they say he's Jewish.
They say basically that he's Jewish. And if they really wanted to explain the foreskin, I guess they could have taken the creative approach and, you know, suggesting that it grew back in that 3 weeks that he was in the coma.
I don't think it works that way.
These nurses are
Unfortunately, it
thirsty as
doesn't.
fuck, by the way. Like they are
You think?
fucking thirsty as fuck
He's like, I looked
about
at
his
penis.
uncircumcised cock. They're all just like standing there like
I do
waiting
kind
to
of
take
love how
turns.
the girl who acts like her looking at his dick is weird is the girl that ends up just inviting him to live with her, essentially. You know, they're definitely thirsty. Very parched indeed.
Very parched indeed.
There's that whole, he has an American accent that makes him hot to them.
Pretty much.
Hey, I mean, David Naughton,
yeah.
he's a good-looking dude.
He is a good looking dude, yeah. But if you saw Say
Yeah.
Anything, there's the scene where the English guy goes to America and he just gets like dropped in the middle of freaking Arkansas or whatever, wherever like the most white bread places, so that they'll think he's really hot because he's got an accent. And he gets very
Really?
late.
That happened?
That
It
happens
does
a lot.
work.
That's hilarious.
It's true.
It works somewhat within the continental U.S. too. If you have like a sweet Minnesota, if you sound like Fargo, you're probably gonna pull more
Minnesota.
tail than I would around here. Unfortunately, you know, us West Coasters don't really have much of an accent at all. So
I hear it.
I'm accent deficient when it comes to
Accent
that.
deficient. I hear it with
think
Ryan
even
a lot.
abroad, they would be like, your American accent's kind of boring, though. Like, you don't even have
Yeah.
that Connecticut twang or anything like that.
I didn't think I had an
Just get
accent until I
outta here.
started having to call people for a living, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Pittsburgh." And I'm like,
What
"What are you talking
What's
about?"
you
I'm
in-
not-
You sound like some dude that works at a GameStop.
Did you use the
or a
word yins?
dispensary.
Because that's
Yeah, an at
Jagoff.
Jago.
See, we don't even have any cool stuff like that in Oregon. This is just how we sound.
You got a lot of granola. That's good.
It's true. We're fibrous and regular.
I love it.
So after they talk about the foreskin, you know, the doctor pretty much shoots him down. I like how that guy's like, "Get the fuck back to work."
Do you do something at this hospital? or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Wait to
it's
get off.
savage.
Rub one off at home like the rest of us. Don't be standing here looking at this poor man.
I love how they set up Dr. What's his name? Dr.
Hirsch.
As like kind of the dick of the movie, but then he turns out to really be the real
Yeah.
MVP. all
Yeah.
along. Like when, you know,
He,
we get
yeah, he
later
was
into
sort of the
this.
hero. Yeah.
Like he drove the fuck down there just to question those people. And you know,
Yeah.
feeling that somebody
Went out of his
believed
way.
it. And he
Pulled a
believed
true
David
good
before
homie
she did.
move and, you know, fully investigated the shit. And if you believe he was just in the neighborhood of the slaughtered lamb, come on.
Yeah.
That place
'Cause
didn't look like
nobody's
it was
just
just
in
in
the
the neighborhood of
neighborhood.
anywhere.
It always bothers me how he only takes a sip of the Guinness.
And then
Like he
leaves.
orders a whole drink, he takes a sip of it, and then he's gone.
I think he said if there was
I
food,
did
he
do
would have
that
eaten it,
once
but
in
it's a
my
long
life,
drive
okay?
back to London and he shouldn't be drinking. Guinness is heavy. But
Let's
can
be
we talk
honest, though,
about
you
the
could
night?
probably
Hopefully, they have
sober up.
food there now, like in
What's that, Abby?
2024.
I said we need to talk about the nightmare, the Nazi.
Yeah.
freaking-
Yes.
Oh, we're
That
getting there.
scene.
But before we get there, we have
Uh-huh.
to discuss the fact that this doctor comes in, listens to a story, apparently takes it more seriously than we would be led to believe, because almost immediately afterwards, there's like a full-on Monty fucking Python scene between him and the inspectors in the office, which always never fails to fucking make me sort of pause.
Knocking
for a minute in this
bedpans
movie and
over
be like,
and
what the fuck is this? You know? That's how you know John Landis was just at the same time making a serious horror movie, but also just fanboying out over a bunch of shit. you
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
and just pumping as much of it into the movie as
You
possible.
almost
'cause
want to say
tonally,
that
it
it's
makes no sense.
yeah. I was gonna say like it almost feels uneven, but it works. It works. It
Yeah,
totally
and
works.
that bizarre, weird, fucking vibe that John Landis
Yeah.
managed to cultivate with this, I buy it as part of the
When
movie.
the guy knocks over all the
Bedpans.
bedpans, and he's like
And they
trying
were
to put them
like,
back into each other.
Those
He denies him
what are
the
those
tea.
Russian
I always
dolls,
think
those
that's
nesting
fucking funny, where
dolls.
it's like, yeah, we'll have some tea. actually."
It's Tetris of bedpans.
And that goofy
It's amazing,
inspector
man,
was
but,
the only one that like kind of like was doubting the official statement
He gets
from
his at the
the
end.
town.
Which I think diverts you even further from the fact that the doctor is going to be the guy that actually investigates
actually
it,
believes him.
because they brought
would
in
think
a
it would be
whole
that
new
guy.
character to take him
Yeah, why
seriously,
wasn't it
yeah.
that guy? It
Whereas
should have been that guy, actually. When you think about it,
it actually would be really fucking funny if it was that guy.
it should have been that
I'm
guy.
sure there would
Yeah.
have been some cool stuff written for that. But, you know, basically David still leans into the fact that, you know, obviously this was not some random psycho that attacked them. It was some sort of fucking animal. He keeps insisting on that. It's through these inspectors that David learns that the village actually fabricated the whole backstory of him being attacked by this lunatic. Supposedly there was witnesses, all that bullshit. Obviously, you know, he knows that's not true, and as we'll learn soon, so does Jack, because though he is dead, he is not gone. You know, and they kind of just decide to close the case and act like none of it ever happened. The cops do. And, you know,
because the lunatic is dead. They have nothing
David
else to
is-
do.
Right. And understandably, David is pissed. And what always cures my anger is a sweet naked forest dream sequence. And that's pretty much exactly what we get right there. He's just bounding through the woods in the birthday suit he was born in. And man, it's, you know, it not only
Like a gazelle. So
invigorating
graceful.
to watch this guy just, you know, his grapes just fucking bouncing through the breeze and this fog. But then he eats a raw deer, which is pretty fucking hardcore as well. Yeah, I've certainly been tempted to do the first 2/3 of that on my mornings when I'm out fishing, but maybe not the eating the raw deer part. I think I'll leave that
Not until you try it, my friend.
to David Naughton. But that's sort of the first indication, I guess. I mean, the movie's called An American Werewolf in London. You know what's fucking going to happen eventually as you're watching it. But for the sake of building tension, you know, and like gradually unveiling the shit, this first dream sequence here is pretty cool. You know, it's sort of because he sort of has a mini one while he's waiting to be interviewed by the doctor or whatever, where it just shows like the Evil Dead style camera going through the woods. But this is the first one where it shows that, like, well, okay, something weird's happening with these, you know. And that's sort of the whole setup to the movie when you think about it. It's just the entirety of American Werewolf in London is the story of the buildup to this dude's first real werewolf transformation.
Yeah, it's an hour in before he transforms.
And then even after that, he's only like human for like a day, and then transforms again and wreaks absolute havoc during the peak of the whole thing. You know, so it's like really it's another movie that sort of reminds me of it is iZombie. It was like a Fangoria Presents thing they did back in the day, so totally unrelated to that show that everybody knows about nowadays. But also notable for having a scene where a zombie guy that's turning into a zombie tries to jack off, his penis falls off in his hand.
Oh.
So
oops.
You know. But
did I do that?
Does he put it in the medicine cabinet like Brundlefly? I guess is
what he does, man. Honestly, put one of those fucking M&M minis containers. That'd be a good place to keep one. I don't remember, but you know, it reminds me of this in that it like sort of documents the transformation. Like I love a movie that sort of does that, where this movie isn't about what happens after this dude's learned to live with being a werewolf. It's not about what happened. They don't give a fuck about the lore of like the werewolf lineage leading up to him. It's not trying to be fucking Underworld.
Nope.
It's just trying to show us the story of a dude getting infected by a fucking werewolf and the painful process of becoming one, you know. And it succeeds pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
But I think some of the thing that builds like a lot of that tension leading up to that is these dream sequences. And sort of on the side of this, we have David having the hots for this nurse. You know, she's flirting with him in a very British way and feeding him whatever the fuck that weird British food is. And he's pretending he likes it. So obviously this guy's committed to getting laid, you know, because we all know most British food sucks, and the hospital food has to be fucking atrocious.
What is British food? Like beans? Like what is that? What is
actually British food
British
just
food?
tends to be mushy and somewhat bland.
Yeah, it's the same shit white people here eat, except they just season it like even less somehow.
Even less.
Yeah, like mushy peas. Just think mushy peas, and then. Although I actually do like a lot of British food, like shepherd's pie and stuff. It's really good.
Same. A lot of British food is a lot of the food that our parents make. They just put like half a tube of fucking ketchup on top of it. You know?
Fish and chips.
Or like a whole ton of Johnny seasoning. I mean, I think the main issue with British food is just the lack of seasoning and how a lot of it's boiled.
You'd like the English breakfast, Adam, because it's got eggs, it's got rashers, which is like thick bacon. You got baked beans, you've got mushrooms, you've got tomatoes, you've got like
Bangers.
black pudding in there, little
That's a lot of food in the morning.
Dude, they go all
I mean,
out.
if I was
They
hungover,
don't fuck
maybe
around
that
with
would hit
breakfast,
that would hit
dude.
the fucking spot.
You know what we've done
I mean, I've
here,
had
though?
bangers and mash. Bangers and mash is like fucking aces.
Banging.
Bangers and mash is fucking amazing. I don't know if that's Scottish though. That might be Scottish. Is
Well, they
Scottish
have it in
food considered
England as
British?
well. They have it in
I don't know.
Ireland, but yeah, it's a UK thing. Bangers.
Anyway, it's good.
Well, now that we explained away the punchline to my fucking joke.
Oh, Jesus.
I ended up with them in the
Sorry,
fucking
dude.
notes right there. No, we did it together as a collective. I as much as I'd like crafting a joke, I like ruining one even better.
Oh, fuck, I
But
can't wait.
you know what happens after this is the demon face, like Nurse in the Woods fucking sequence, which is pretty goddamn weird as well, and also sort of showcases the beginning of their relationship, which I think is pretty cool. Like, this dude got attacked by a werewolf on a trip with his friend. Yeah, his friend's dead, but he's gonna get super fucking laid, and he
Super
knows
laid.
that from like his first encounter with this lady.
Yeah.
So
Guess
the
he's not
trip-
feeling that bad.
I almost feel like it's not stated, but David is definitely trying to get laid in Jack's honor on this trip, you know, because like that's what they were talking about in the whole opening sequence.
Yeah,
Like
Debbie
Jack
Klein or
was trying to
something.
get over fucking Debbie Klein or whatever, so he's trying to
That
get some sweet
body.
fucking European snooch, dude. And he got killed in the process before he even got to have any European anything. Like, he just got killed in the first field that they walked through.
Seems wrong.
Well, presumably, we don't know. I see. This theory requires that the plane dropped them off right before the dude with the sheep picked them up. So I actually don't
Good
know
point.
what they did.
Yeah.
Up to this point.
They could have been wild beforehand.
Yeah, but in my head canon, they just got dropped off right there and then ended up in a sheep truck.
Sheep,
And
yeah. It happens to the best
I like
of
to
us.
think David's trying to go out there and just do this in fucking Jack's honor, and then he gets swept up in the whole thing because unfortunately he's a fucking werewolf, dude. How do you guys think you would deal with this at this point? You're having weird dreams. You're in a
The
strange
werewolf
hospital
Nazi
in a strange
dream
land.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about these dreams.
The werewolf Nazi dream. We'll just play this while you talk, Adam. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I've been in I'm in a lot of horror groups on Facebook, as I'm sure everybody in this chat is. And there's always a back and forth between, you know, what's the best werewolf movie? Is it Howling or is it this film? And like, and you know, it's close, right? No matter which one you go with, you have to say that it's close. But what a lot of people will say, a lot of horror fans I see say that the reason The Howling is better is because it's a better, how do they put it? American Werewolf is a better movie, but The Howling is a better horror movie, is what they say. And I don't agree with that at all, because I mean, I would shine a spotlight on these dream sequences and say nothing in The Howling even comes close to matching the terror of these dream sequences. The Nazi
The
thing.
Howling is basically what happened if a serial killer made a fucking reporter a werewolf and they had to go to the swingers club in the fucking woods to find out what happened about it.
Swingers
I mean,
club.
it's not that complicated. This movie is that's what that camp was in The Howling.
But-
I don't care what anyone says. It's a
I did
swingers
learn that
club.
Rick Baker
sweaty
was the
werewolf sex.
Nazi that
Yeah.
slices Norton's throat.
There's
That
just
Rick
a
Baker was
there's just a
Nazi.
sect of horror fan that, like, if there's any kind of comedy in a film, in a
Oh, it
horror
doesn't
movie,
make it a horror
they
movie,
completely they knock it down a few pegs, and they're like, it's not a
Which
true
is
horror movie.
ridiculous to me.
It's
okay?
totally ridiculous.
It's what do
You
they
know,
say
it's-
about, like, okay,
Comedy and
the
horror is like chocolate and peanut butter.
it's like the whole thing of theater or whatever. It's like comedy, tragedy, and romance. Those are the main genres. Like, everything you do, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be comedy, tragedy, or romance. Horror movies are obviously lean heavily into tragedy, but then sometimes they're going to lean into romance for a spell, or into fucking comedy
movie
for
has it
still, or
all.
both.
Like,
You know,
And I'll actually say that like part of the reason, like I know probably everybody here loves The Howling. One of the reasons that I have such a problem with that movie is that it takes itself so fucking seriously.
it
Like
does.
there isn't
Yeah.
1 minute of levity in that entire fucking movie.
Which is
Except when she turns into a Shih Tzu at the end.
Shih
That's
Tzu.
pretty funny.
which is
That's pretty funny. And if you just-
because Joe Dante's got a comedy background himself too.
I always forget it's a Joe Dante movie. Thanks for it. I honestly always
what
forget
he's
that.
saying is accurate. The Howling doesn't have any parts that lean into comedy in the same way that American Werewolf does on any level.
And like a
apologize
werewolf
for having to
movie,
keep add this
basic
fun in, but I'm
principle is
trying.
ridiculous. You
Yeah.
have to like loosen
Have
up a
fun with
little bit. Yeah, yeah, right.
I hate having to add this clone, but I need it because the only clip I was not able to upload was the transformation sequence, which we're gonna need here soon.
Anyway, I mumbled and
talk
fumbled all through that while you played the clip. I apologize.
No, I
I
think
was
you
trying,
did.
trying to get
fuck
my
it,
foot.
dude.
I think
You
you were
did good.
quite articulate, sir.
Yeah, very eloquent.
Very eloquent. But yeah,
I'd
so
pinch
I
your
learned that
dimples
Rick
too,
Baker
man, if I
played
could
one
get
of the
get a hold of 'em,
Nazis.
you know?
I like that scene a lot. And then the dream inside the dream where he thinks he wakes up in the hospital and, the nurse is with him and then she goes to open the blinds and then that shit scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she just gets knifed up. Yeah, it's a cool fake out at the end of that. Sort of creates this thing.
the
where
nightmare
you
is
don't
over,
know
but
if
it's
he's
not really
awake or
over.
not.
But
Remember
it's
that
not
was
really
the whole
over.
thing.
That scene, and I know it's coming every time, and it still makes me jump because it just was like this. Yeah, that one affected me, as it were.
For sure.
I didn't
Another one
realize that
affects-
the
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
the Muppet Show scene that they play was not actually ever shown in the U.S. So a lot of Americans thought it was a fake episode that they showed in there. That clip, I looked it up. It said it was the nightmare sequence is Senior Wences 1980, but the portion that they showed in the movie was never shown in the U.S. So
Right.
that's
so a
why
lot
Miss
like you
Piggy and
said-
Kermit get credited because they.
And I feel like there's even articles alluding to the fact that it was like created for the movie or something,
Yeah,
and that's
it
why
wasn't.
Frank
It
Oz
was
is in the movie, and it's not. It's just
Yeah.
some unaired bit that never came over.
never made it in.
It fits so perfectly though, and if that fucking clip would upload, we'll be able to look at that in a bit. But another scene that sticks with a lot of people is Jack's first visit. When he just comes in while he's enjoying some eggs, or attempting to, and this dude just shows up and starts fucking eating them instead. I love the way that this is portrayed in this movie. I mean, they do a good job of, I guess, like hearkening back to it in Paris, but this is how it's fucking done right here.
It's brilliant.
Griffin Dunn is. I don't really even know anything else that I know him from, honestly. Did you guys?
He was in
mention
Batteries Not
anything?
Included.
Okay, I do actually really love that movie, but I feel like he's probably like a random dad in that or something, or is
He was like this,
really
this
remember it.
bachelor artist in that movie. He was also in Johnny Dangerously, After Hours, Quiz
After
Show.
Hours was a big one for him.
He was in Johnny Dangerously. That's interesting.
The guy's fucking phenomenal. We'll say
He's
that.
so good in this movie.
I mean, it's
You know who
he's
his
one of those
sister was,
dudes-
right? His sister was
No.
Dominique Dunn from Poltergeist, the one that got murdered by her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And his
What?
father was a
I don't know about this. What about the girl?
Actually,
Okay.
by the way, sorry,
It's-
I want to mention he was not in Batteries Not Included. I thought I'm missing you with another actor.
you're thinking of Fisher Stevens.
No,
Who the
no,
fu-
no.
I always knew about the little blonde girl on Poltergeist dying.
Yeah, so the
tragically,
older
but-
sister that's in the first movie, Dana, she's not in the second movie because she was murdered in real life about a month after the movie was released. Dominique Dunn, she was
damn.
strangled on her front lawn by her ex-boyfriend. That was Griffin's sister, and his father is a like a crime writer or something. Like his father's quite famous.
Dude, that
Dominic
makes me
Dunn.
feel even worse reading the trivia that like this dude apparently was not like hyped on seeing himself all dead and shit throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And his mom was like sick or something, and he was afraid that seeing it would fuck her up a little bit too. And then he showed it to her, and spoiler alert, it did.
It did fuck her up.
Yeah. And I don't blame them, man. I mean,
I have no sympathy. It was in the script before you signed on. Like, did you not read what the movie was about? Like,
I don't think he had
I'm dead from age 4 to 90.
They talk about it in a lot
Look
of
at all these scenes where I'm dead.
For American Werewolf. Makeup like this wasn't really commonplace.
That's
prior
true.
To this,
and
he
looked
maybe he didn't know it was going to be as
seeing it is different.
Severe. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I get it.
Getting there and doing it, and then
right. No,
a couple of them talk about how they asked the guys if they'd done it before, and they're like, "Yeah, once or twice." This is back in the day where it was not perfected.
Yeah,
and even
although
as much of a
came out
nightmare as
before
they
his
make it sound
died.
like, they all have high praise for fucking Rick Baker and everybody in it. Like, I've never heard any of them say a bad word about the effects people. They just said that it sucked being in the stuff.
No. The only thing, the thing I remember about that scene is when he's talking to David. There's this one little piece of flappy skin right here that every time he talks, it's going.
That's where the toast popped out of, and he had to cut that scene because he was eating his toast and it came out his neck.
It's so gross.
I'm dying to see that.
I love it. I love that they left it too, because it just made it. It did make it more realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
So he also, Griffin Dunn, I love him. He was best friends with Carrie Fisher growing up, and
this guy's just better and better the more we talk about him. And
yeah,
to
like
be honest,
he took
I've
Carrie
always just known
Fisher's
him
virginity.
as the zombie dude from American Werewolf. So keep talking.
He took Carrie Fisher's virginity back in the day.
Jesus Christ!
Oh fuck! Did not expect it to take that turn.
She considered it a burden, and they were friends, and she wanted to lose her virginity. There's a great documentary called Bright Lights with Carrie Fisher that he's in, and it's amazing. I love him.
Listen, there's a 12-year-old in all of us right now that is saying, "Lucky dude."
Yeah,
nailed it. The adult in us can't say that because it is a bit weird. But childhood Mo is like fucking spinning around right now and like chucking Darth Vader's against the wall or something. Holy shit!
The things you learn during an American Werewolf podcast.
True enough. I didn't know that guy really had any sort of lineage or anything like that. I just assumed he was some rando they put in this.
I mean, I had no money on the square where he fucked Princess Leia. I did not make any kind of bet on that tonight.
Not something I saw in the tarot cards.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they.
Holy shit!
Good times.
What a fucking legend. Okay.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, dude, fucked Princess Leia. For the first time.
Princess Leia.
For the first time.
And he's Jack in American Werewolf.
Yeah, that's got to be like the first dude to walk on the moon, or like the first dude to win the lottery, or there's only so many things that happen in the history of man that equal out to that sort of thing. It's like the first guy to win a coin toss or something. Like, how does that even happen? I don't even know where we're going anymore. But anyway, Jack has his first visit. He warns him that he's got to basically kill himself to end this werewolf curse, because
take your life,
if not, he's
kill
going to hurt
yourself
other people
before you kill everybody else. Seems easy enough. But obviously David just assumes that he's lost his mind. And that Jack is not there.
Fed that idea,
Yeah, although she does say when she comes in, when they're back at the house, that she heard voices,
which implies she heard him too, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
I'm
although
not crazy then. All right, I thought the same thing.
Seemed.
Said it again. She heard what too?
So when they get him back to the house, when he goes to stay with her, and Jack comes to visit him at her house, at Alex's house, she comes in the room and she's like, "Who are you talking with? I heard voices."
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, just me going, insane." But she didn't say, "I heard you talking to yourself." I heard voices. So I wondered.
She did hear.
Yeah. I do love, though, at that point where, like, she walks in, he kisses her and says, I'm a werewolf. Like, that's some game right there. Just goes on.
I'm a werewolf.
Laying
I'm
it
about to
on.
show you.
I'm a werewolf. Yeah.
I mean, I would have banged him before that, but yeah.
But that actually adds to it.
Seals
And then
the deal for sure.
takes him home to her apartment, as most nice nurses do for their patients. And
yeah, I have in my notes that basically he finally makes his move and gains a sugar mama.
oh yeah, she's buying all the groceries and shit too. Like,
Yeah, because he's just following her around.
like, oh,
with a
that's
little
expensive, isn't it?
And he's like, how do you survive? And she's like, carefully. And he still just lets her bring it all up. Like, you did, the werewolf didn't take your fucking traveler's checks.
Yeah,
What
dude,
are
you could have
what are you doing?
bought
You coulda paid for a
something.
little bit of that.
Gotta put a little in there. Yeah.
He
Do you
put a
guys
little
like
in
the
there.
subtle change of his bubble
little-
jacket being like a full bubble jacket in the first scenes to make him look totally alien? But then once he's been in the hospital for like 3 weeks and apparently, you know, moistened his tip on this fucking sweet British lady,
Moistened his tip.
like chalking a pool cue, you know, fucking.
It happens.
Basically, pretty much his transformation visually is that he has a new bubble vest, but underneath is like a cardigan style sweater. So he's a little British.
He's a
He's a
little,
little British now.
He's a little fancy lad.
He's assimilated.
I like that the
Just
dogs
a
are
bit.
barking at him and the cats are hissing at him, and
That's the werewolf trope. All
and
the
then
cats,
he's all
all the
growling at
animals
himself in the mirror,
have
like,
figured it out.
because you know, if I thought I was a werewolf, I'd growl at myself in the mirror too, just for funsies.
Well, and that's kind of what, again, you know, this whole movie is really just, I have to add my little clone again one more time, but I think I found a solution to this so we can get that transformation clip, baby, because that's really the last thing that we need.
Which,
need
I
it.
mean, it is the greatest transformation scene of all time.
Yeah, the discussion won't be the same without it. And I think I did maybe fix that.
I didn't mean to
But, you
call
know,
you a meatloaf, Jack. That's my favorite line.
Oh,
of
we're
the
getting
movie.
there. That's one of almost that scene for some reason. Well, let's wait. we're almost to that point, but you know, after Jack's first visit, you're still not certain that this shit is like totally real. You know, like this still could be in his head, I guess.
He still thinks
Obviously,
he's
we know it's not, but he thinks it's in his fucking head. You know,
I found something interesting that I saw for the first time. Well, that I noticed for the first time. So he walks out right before he changes. He walks out. He opens the front door, looks outside, doesn't shut the front door, then comes into the apartment, doesn't shut that front door either, which is, I
it's not
guess,
his
how the
fucking
werewolf
house,
got
dude.
out.
Like he's having like his whole, yeah, that you know, it was a
Well,
convenient
because he
way to
didn't
explain.
bust her a door. Like, she didn't come home and then her whole door was broken down. So he obviously just went out the open doors like, bitch, I'm out, you know? And I never noticed that before, that he just, for whatever reason, just left her front door wide open and then left her apartment
Well, that's
door
the
wide
reason, you know. But I could also see if I was like in some random Euro lady's apartment that just picked me up at a hospital after I was involved in some sketchy animal attack, and with
You
the
just
express
leave doors
purpose of banging me, I might be leaving some doors open too and jumping on the bed and eating popcorn like fucking Macaulay Culkin, you know. Really, the whole sequence is, I have it even in my notes, like David has a Home Alone sequence and then transforms into a werewolf, you know.
Still not hungry. Just like,
he's trying his hardest to do like those smorgasbord scenes from the Home Alone movies, and they didn't even exist at this point yet, but I just like imagining that they did, you know, because it's like, I want to do the Kevin McAllister like fucking smorgasbord scene, but I can't because my tummy just isn't fucking cooperating.
just not hungry.
What's the song
I
that's
need
playing
a raw
during this
deer,
scene?
like some pussy. What?
What's the song that's playing during the scene? Like,
Well,
when he's,
Bad
like,
Moon
walking
Rising
around?
comes out when he's
Yeah, it's
changing.
the Credence song. When he's changing. The song
Bad
that's playing over the
Moon
sequence, though, I don't know.
When he's like walking
It
around and
might
he's
be
like,
the same
I-
song.
I think it's still Bad Moon Rising, because I think that leads up into
Yeah, and
that
it's like
bad
cut up by
memorizing.
the doctor conversation with the nurse where he's finally telling her like something's weird about this. Like I went out there and investigated, and this seems pretty fucking plausible what this guy's telling us.
These bitches.
That whole swerve, you know. It's right there in the notes too. Doctor proves he's a good homie and goes to the slaughtered lamb, you know, just to investigate his story. Like I'd never, the first time I saw this, that was a hell of a swerve. Like,
Yeah,
the
I didn't
doctor's
see
not
him
the
being
dude
that
you
person.
expect to be going out doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
And not
The
only
fact that
does he
Dr. Hirsch
investigate it, he investigates it
believes him.
seriously.
Yeah, he took it
Yeah.
seriously. He believed him. And even if he doesn't understand, or maybe not necessarily believes 100% that he is an actual werewolf, he believes that there is some mass psychosis going on. He believes that not only does the town believe, but David believes this, and in doing so could hurt himself or others, even if he doesn't fully believe that he's a lycanthrope and he's going to, you know, wolf out. But he believes.
Right.
Say lycanthrope? How did you pronounce
lycanthrope?
That? Oh, okay.
I think she said lycanthrope.
Lycanthrope. Mexican or Mexicant?
Are you a Mexican?
Like,
or
well,
On the point of pronunciations, I've noticed in the legend episode, you are one of those people, like those rare individuals, Adam, that pronounces ambiance and ambiance as the same word.
Yeah.
So you're like, what does he say? Ambiance.
He says ambiance.
Or something like, and I love
ambience.
And it's ambiance. If
Ambiance.
you're fancy. And your pinky must be extended when you say it.
I probably say
Hi,
that
West,
word
T West.
1 or 2 times a year, so I just have to practice. So how should I have said it?
Ambiance.
Ambience.
There's no, I mean, it like most, you know,
It's
language,
tomato,
there's no
tomato.
one right way. I mean, it's just regional.
I mean, there's the right way, and then
personally specific, you know. I like that you pronounce it that way.
T West.
Thank you. Do what I can.
So pretty much after that, you know, Jack is still in disbelief. The doctor has done his investigations. You know, the dark player is the guy that basically spills the beans to the doctor that something's fucked here. You know.
Yeah, that surprised me because I didn't think he'd be the one.
You wouldn't. They had a couple of swerves in there with that stuff. Pets don't like David anymore while he tries to climb back in the house. This is all building up to the transformation that unfortunately I was not able to upload, so we're just gonna have to talk about it. But you know, everybody's seen it. It's kind of one of those things that, you know, honestly, not having it in the discussion right now isn't gonna hurt anyone. It's gonna give them more reason.
Those
to
weird
go watch
little
the fucking
girls
movie.
laughing while the dog's barking, like they're like,
yeah, those little bitches really fucking
just
you know, bothered me for some reason.
Get the fuck away from me. But
can you imagine being a, you know, American man locked outside of your British sugar mama's apartment with some kids
these little chicks are giggling
at you?
I've been drunk in London before. It's happened.
I've never been to London, but hopefully that'll change one day.
It's I actually have been in the tube or the subway there where and it legit looks just like that. Like I've been up that escalator. I've been to Piccadilly Circus. I like seeing those places
from what I read, that was like expressly one of the purposes of doing this movie the way that it was done was to showcase modern London. They didn't want to do one of those goofy things where they made it seem like it was, you know,
Jack the Ripper, like
a Hammer film. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, it's wild there. They're they do like their drink. I got very drunk and wandered through the subways of London. So, woo, where'd he go?
All right, so I'm now the host of Schlockaholics.
Hi, Adam. Welcome to my show. Mo.
That's unfortunate. Where that was.
Because how do you bring him back? Like he has to bring himself back. I think
we might have to end it and
no,
come back in.
We can't.
Can he come back in?
Oh, there he is.
I was ready to man the ship for you, Mo.
Adam took over.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Oh,
That's what I'm here
this is
for.
why I don't drink.
I'm the Chewy to your Han, bro.
Rock and roll. So
we're good. That was just some sort of weird internet issue. So good.
If you came back as a werewolf, I would have just shit myself. I'm just saying right now. That'd have been fantastic.
I didn't know he didn't.
Opportunity for sure. And the very least, wearing a sweet mustache.
A Dabney Coleman stash. Sorry.
Fucking A,
so,
dude.
R.I.P.
transformation. There really isn't anything we can say about this transformation that hasn't been said a million times before.
Right.
But it really holds up. I mean, this movie came out in 81. That's a lot of years ago.
Almost half a century.
That's like 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's elements of it that, of course, people have perfected since. There's an awkward nose here or there at parts, the way it moves in a cut. But it's nothing that's, sliver in a couple of seconds.
It still bothers me when he looks straight into the camera.
Does it?
Yeah.
When he looks straight into the camera and they left that in. Like, why did you leave that in?
So
don't tell me there aren't a million.
I would have put that maybe. Are you talking about the yellow contacts and everything?
There's just a part where he's looking straight like into the camera and breaking the fourth wall, and I'm just like, why? What are we doing here?
I like it because it feels like if it's the part you're talking about where he's laying on his back and he's like looking at us.
That is the part.
I like it because the scene is so fucked, compared to any other transformation scene in a werewolf movie.
It's like, I can't help you, bro. Don't look at me.
He starts like looking
Don't look
at
at me.
us, makes it even more
hiding
fucked
your
up,
penis.
So do you guys think
really
that this
does,
is the
like,
greatest
add a layer
werewolf
of,
transformation scene of all time? Because a lot of people say that the Howling Eddie Quist scene with Dee Wallace's.
Listen, I respect this and the Howling to death. But if I had to say what my favorite werewolf transformation sequence is, it's the one from Trick or Treat. The way they just slough off the skin and like throw it like they're throwing their clothes off and just go. I mean, a lot of it is CGI. I get that, but holy fuck, is that awesome. For practical werewolf transformations,
this is amazing.
Yes, this is obviously my favorite.
I mean, I've seen how they do it, and I still
not
don't
as
know.
good.
Like his hands stretching and his feet stretching and the
jaw
bladders in the back just pumping air. Oh, so good.
I mean, it's just two different like philosophies. Like the Howling transformation is.
It looks more
much more
weird,
like well, Eddie Quist enjoys being a werewolf, and so like the transformation scene is almost like he's getting his rocks off, and whereas
I think
American Werewolf in London is much more sympathetic, and
that was the purpose, from what I understand, was
in agony.
To show the agony of what this would actually do.
Full on werewolf, the Howling is a better werewolf. But I think the transformation in American Werewolf is just tops. But the actual finished product of Werewolf, I think the Howling blows it out of the water.
Only in one scene though. Like that scene.
But like you said, Adam,
there's like stop motion shit later in that movie. She turns into a
sweet.
Well, we're not talking about the Pomeranian, but
Pomeranian, it's but that one, but I agree with you that scene with Dee Wallace
where he stands up.
That's a creepy, awesome looking werewolf. It really is, and if I had my way, I prefer the werewolves that stand on two legs as opposed to the ones that
as long as they're not bears, right? Because they weird you
quadrupedal or whatever, right?
I'm of that school too, and I think most people are, but. I think John Landis knew what he was doing.
Oh, for sure.
It wouldn't be the same if it did.
And it was budgetary shit too. But like for budgetary reasons, like whatever they were going through, whatever, that sculpt of the head in the face and it's fucking terrifying. It's there's a lot of Jaws in this, whereas like the shark was not working. Like they were doing what they could with what they had, with this werewolf head on a stick.
It lives up to it,
but it worked.
Man,
for the most part.
I think it might be one of the scariest werewolves
for sure.
Ever.
Like the viciousness of it, like we were just talking about before,
the
like
is
unmatched. It's unmatched. Like if you're in a room with this thing, you are not walking out.
Right, and they do a good job of keeping it rooted in that like animalism, you know. Yeah. Like even in the way they shoot that initial attack where they're being like circled and they're not sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
if you've ever
been
in that position with an animal, it does not fucking feel good, you know. So I can understand trying to be like, oh, it's a sheepdog, you know, like just to say something to make yourself.
Yeah,
it's not a sheepdog. It's a fucking, you know, a
this
puma or a mountain lion or whatever.
This movie's so good.
Fucking eat us.
I love this fucking movie.
But yeah, I mean, it really does fucking nail stuff like that. You know, it keeps that animalistic. Like one of the things I love the most is that sort of like fish-eyed view that it shows as the point of view of the werewolf. You know, which if you grew up all like through the 80s and 90s on skate videos and stuff, it's not an uncommon camera trick, but seeing it used in 1981 in a fucking werewolf movie to show like this weird tunnel vision,
the POV,
murder vision that this fucking animal
has. Vision, I like that.
That's pretty
sick.
So
he goes on his rampage at this point. He gets I don't remember the couple's name that are walking around back to scare their friend Sean. The engaged couple. They meet their unfortunate end, and their friend Sean does come out to see what the ruckus is and finds a random arm strewn, but we have the 3 homeless guys down by the river. I'm happy we don't see the dog get killed because I really hate when that happens. So I choose to believe the dog lived. And then you've got the poor really British guy in the tube. And like I said, I've been in that train station, in that subway station, and it's so eerie when you're going up the escalators and you're like, I know this.
Yeah, I bet.
It's kind of cool. But I like how the guy in the subway, you never see the thing chasing him. You feel his panic. He's running. But I guess practically you only really see it that last shot when it kind of walks into screen before it takes him out on the escalator. You know, every time he's looking behind him, he comes around a corner. You don't actually see it, you know, tumbling after him, but you know it's there. And I kind of love the way that's shot. Less is more in that case.
I really do as well. Another portion that we kind of skipped over, but I will run the clip of now because it's our last fucking clip that we have as far as like visual aids go, is Jack's second visit. It's not in the clip. I just included the bullet points here, but like, I love that long sequence of Jack's corpse walking down the hallway, like feeling the curtains and sniffing the flower and just taking his time because he really seems to be enjoying living that unlife. I mean, he's making the best of it. Obviously he's progressively rotting in every clip that we see of him, but
and these are 2 best friends and they react like 2 best friends.
Yeah,
you know,
kind of annoyed with each other sometimes, but also always there.
I'm not going to tell you I told you so, but I told you so, and yeah. And then obviously,
I love that element of the movie where it, you know, starts as like a friend road comedy in Europe and sort of still keeps that going the whole time.
Yeah, he's with them till the end.
Fucked up stuff is happening, you know. They bond as much through the length of the movie as they would have if they took a normal vacation through Europe.
If they would have just gone to Rome.
Maybe even more so. And at least one of them got laid, which based on the trajectory of their fucking vibe at the beginning, probably wasn't going to happen for a while longer if they hadn't got bit by that wolf, you know? And Jack did get a good peek at a nurse during that whole sequence there. So
Yeah. David
awesome
wakes
friend
up at the
comedy,
zoo.
friend road comedy,
Fuck yeah.
but also an amazing horror film.
Excuse me. I like when he wakes up in the zoo with the wolves. Quite
Yes,
good
unsure
times.
as to how he got there. Still making sure to keep all the goods covered. He was hiding in the. I do love
Trying
that
to
scene.
hide that
Hiding in the
Dr.
Comes
bushes.
Pepper
face to
dong.
face with the British lady. Oh, hello. A naked American man stole my balloons.
Yeah, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, there's my pecker.
Wouldn't you like to have my pecker too? Yeah, so he finds his way home. Alex is beside herself because Dr. Hirsch is like, where is he? They can't find him. And he just sort of strolls in, like, hey, guess where I ended up? As one does. He seems in pretty good spirits at that point until they go meet the doctor and they're in the taxi cab and he sees the paper that people have been mauled and murdered and sort of jumps out in the middle of Piccadilly Square and freaks the fuck out and tries to get himself arrested, which I think is kind of fun. You know, Queen Elizabeth is a man. And
then Prince Charles says, we can't say those words anymore.
I think this is the first time I noticed the very end of the movie. It closes with a congratulations to Prince Charles and Lady Di getting married like the next month. I never noticed that before. Like, hi, sorry we called you a bad.
Pretty much, they didn't want that smoke, you know.
Yeah.
Even though in the 80s, I'm pretty sure the royal family was as deep as bunk as it is now. Like, they're just people that make paintings and kind of show up on commemorative plates. Much like our presidents. They don't mean a whole lot at the end of the day. They're just a person that's hired to like sit there and take photos and stumble up a fucking staircase or something. We got some comments though. JR says Van Helsing 2004 also had some great transformations. Though CGI,
That's very
but not
CGI.
bad at all.
Yeah.
I
have to give that movie another shot.
I like Van Helsing, but the CGI in that hasn't aged great.
You like Van Helsing?
They could easily touch that up. I like it, dude.
I love the
Get a bit
premise.
of beer and
I
popcorn.
bet I have never seen it.
The premise was great.
Fucking drink a 12-pack, eat some popcorn, shut the fuck up, let your kid like have fun. It's a fine movie, Van Helsing.
It's the worst Dracula ever, though.
We would never cover it on this show, okay? Like that would never happen, but it's all right if you're gonna watch something like that with your kid. I don't like the Blade movies either, really. Like,
I love the first two Blade movies.
Yeah, I feel about them the same as Van Helsing. You know, they're all right.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Van Helsing. I think it's just too CGI for my taste. Like, I need a little something practical.
I mean, you got the guy that played fucking Wolverine in there, though, I think. So
Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, everything. It makes sense that it would all be CGI bullshit, you know.
She and I share a birthday.
I think they wanted it to kick off into like a Pirates of the Caribbean thing, but nobody gave enough of a shit.
Nobody gave.
Honestly, wasn't it basically one of several aborted attempts of Universal to revive their monster universe?
That movie and like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, on paper, should have been so much better than it was.
Yeah,
I find those movies just to be a little bit of a letdown because I don't know if they tried to Hollywood it too much or what, but I want them to redo Van Helsing because that movie should be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's
same with League too.
League, I know, is why Alan Moore does not refuses to have his name on any adaptations of his work
because of that movie.
Yeah,
and that movie should be fantastic.
That bad, okay. I do enjoy the movie as a movie, you know, as just putting something on and like watching a thing. sometimes that doesn't need to be amazing,
Oh no, usually
But
if they're just my background movies, they should be crap. And I
I
mean
mean,
that
I
with love.
proudly own a copy of The Scorpion King, and I watch it sometimes. It's
I get that.
like once every 5 years, you gotta just watch The Scorpion King. I mean, bad movies have a place too. I don't know.
No,
I think
Oh,
that
for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's
this
all I'm
would
in
have
the
been a
mood for.
better.
That's
Yeah,
the only
there are
thing
just
that's going
times
to
where I
scratch that
need-
itch.
To use your term schlock, I need that, I need that
That
schlock.
shittiness.
The shittiness.
It's like eating a
I
bad
do
bowl
love
of
the
grits,
scene.
with you put enough butter on it, it's still pretty good.
But I like the schlock. Yeah. But it's got to have schlock. It's got to be schlock that has charm to it,
Oh yeah.
There's a perfect mixture for sure. It's like making moonshine, like somebody's might turn you blind, somebody else's might make you have the best weekend of your life. It's there's a science to it for sure. There's people that do schlock really well. There's people that do schlock accidentally, and then there's people that try real hard to do schlock. But
you shouldn't
if
have
you
to
watch
try schlock.
like I can spot those fucking lame, crowdfunded. It's basically money laundering essentially. It's like some shitty B movie that every role is for sale, and you see those things and it's like, all right, I get what's going on here. This is like a elaborate fucking scheme here. It's like buying those water companies that some guy with a weird briefcase comes and tries to sell you every now and again. But then there's real indie movies that need crowdfunding. I don't know. It's a nuanced thing. Point is,
I hate the whole buy a line in the movie.
it can be fun.
If you pay us $40, we'll say whatever you want. Like what? How can you make anything competent with that model?
You can't, because everything's for sale. So the movie
Right.
ends up feeling like some weird, I don't know how to even describe it. It's like when they honor everybody that donates to a park on a weird bench.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Good. Yes. That's an excellent
and
analogy.
So your name is just engraved on a bench. Like someone's ass will sit on your fucking name for, presumably fucking decades. I don't know if that's what I wanted my money to go towards.
Like anyone
that a bench.
tries to make a movie, like you get that it's a daunting, harrowing, torturous, humiliating experience in a lot of ways. So I get where that whole, cutting corners aspect kind of like plays a role, but man, I just I can't ever see myself paying money to watch any of those movies. I just can't do it.
You just gotta balance.
Oh,
it out,
$20 and
you gotta look
be in the
at
movie.
There's a difference between movies that use crowdfunding and crowdfunding movies. That's sort of how
I'm sure there's a way to do it properly, but having the audience write the script
for sale
isn't
every line of it for sale. It's a crowdfunding movie. It's basically something they're doing to just raise money, take some of it, and then make like a shitty movie that they put out to a bunch of people on Vimeo or basic physical media distribution, and that happens. Then you get movies like stuff that Forrest would be involved in, or things like that, like actual fucking movies that are being made that just need some crowdfunding.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's totally different. Like I'm
totally
for
different.
that all day. But if you're trying to involve me in some weird pyramid scheme where it's just
totally
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I have an idea of some of those filmmakers or who they are.
Exactly several of the people I'm talking about, I'm sure. Because they exist out there, and some of them have made legitimate movies, which is even more troubling, where it's like, I want to support this dude, but this is clearly like some weird. This is like when the fucking kids come to your house. You remember when you do like fundraisers as an elementary school kid and they wanted you to sell like $10 candy bars? to people that were like, this candy bar should be like $1.50. What are you talking about? And you're like, oh well, I have to take $7.99 for it because I'm doing this fucking dumb fundraiser that actually doesn't even go into our school. It's just a money raising scheme, you know.
The only fundraiser I did was in day camp, and I had to tread water. For every $1, I had to tread water for a minute. It was the longest day of my life. Like 3 hours of treading water.
That sounds fucking insane.
Wow.
I remember doing jump rope for life back in the day, though.
Yes.
So that might have been kind of similar, where it's like jump rope till you feel like you might have a heart attack for people that have heart attacks.
Someone will give you money. But
felt good.
American Werewolf in London.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It needs crowdsourced.
Most of what we could say on this is in terms of crowdsourcing movies. I mean, just feel it out. You know, if a movie feels like a real movie and they just need some help, then
I have a lot of friends that are indie filmmakers, and a lot of them I will support because they make legit movies that I enjoy and I watch over and over again. And then there are some that maybe
we both. I know some of your guys' friends. We all have friends that make some fucking. That's a scheme, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not giving you money for that. Yeah.
No.
I do,
and it's the same people over and over and over and over and over.
It really is.
And if you're not fucking real vigilant about it, they'll start hitting you up directly, like in your
DMs.
Yeah, nobody plays that game with me anymore.
Yeah,
we don't take kindly to that.
I'll tell them where to stick it if they ever do that to me. Fuck that.
Not someone you want to do that with.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm not an ATM.
No.
But like I said, I'm a big supporter of
taking on the practice of just buying the physical product, to be honest.
Well, that's what I usually do when I support them. I just buy the DVD and that movie goes towards the crowdfunding. And then I get to see it when it's done, and that makes me happy. But
same.
I do want to point out, I do love the scene where David calls home and talks to his sister.
That's
I
tender.
think it's so sweet.
Yeah.
Where he tells her he loves her and stop. Like she gets all like, "Oh, you're being an idiot." Like stop. You can just hear her on the other end. He's like, "No, I'm not kidding. I love you. I love you. I love Mom. Tell them I love I love that scene for some reason. And then the whole time,
one of those genuine ones that really sells you on the whole vibe
you
of the movie.
Feel that he misses his family, and we know he's never going to see his family again. I think he knows it too. And then Jack is just standing across the street, fucking in the middle of the day, just like watching him not cut his wrists in the phone booth. And then we make it into the nudie theater for the climax.
Yes.
The movie, which is brilliant. The movie theater scene.
It's one of the most insane.
Yes. All his victims
hanging out.
Jack
gets introduced to everybody.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Abby.
No, I'm done. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just the whole last portion of this movie is some of the most insane shit that's ever been laid down in horror movie history. It's
the car, like all the cars and buses.
Almost can't describe how nuts this fucking movie gets at the end.
And I love that it's filmed in the center of Piccadilly Circus, which is this huge. And you don't have to have been there to see what it's like. It's like Times Square in New York.
I'll say it's British Times Square.
Yeah. And it's, so the theater scene itself, after he attacks and like the cops come in and you've got just the porno going on in the background and the heavy breathing from that and the intensity of him like walking through and trying to listen for something other than, the cries on the screen is just so intense. It's and then seeing the werewolf and him running out and slamming the doors and that thing's coming up against them. And one of my very favorite scenes is the freaking inspector shows up from Scotland Yard, that dick bag. And he's like, "What's going on here?" And at that moment, the thing just comes out and bites his fucking head off. And I love that scene for some reason because I hate that guy. I love that.
See, my whole plan for this discussion was to show up through the transformation and then just us talk about this, but still working out pretty fucking great. It's hard to fuck up talking about the end of this movie because it's amazing. So many cool, just set pieces after set pieces, cool fucking kills. The werewolf itself is pretty insane. The way the whole thing's shot is pretty glorious as well. It's a great example of how whatever fucking $1 million can make a really amazing horror film.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got a little budget in there. I love that Alex like plows down the cops that have him like pinned in the alley, and she just somehow manages to like push through an entire line of cops with rifles. Like, no, I must go down there. And I do that amazing end scene where she tells David that she loves him, and you see his eyes like he starts to register, and then the animal just takes over and he launches himself at her, and the whole death by cop thing. Yep. So fucking beautiful.
It's flawlessly executed, I think, and it calls back without taking a moment to stop and have someone explain it to you. Calls back to several things that were referenced earlier in the movie, like it needing to be somebody he loves that kills him, whatever. Mm-hmm. They handle the finale of this movie very well. And it's built to so casually but intensely that I think that adds a lot to what makes American Werewolf so insane of a really good party movie too. I would say this is equally as good of a party movie as Animal House, just in different
I like
ways.
that it ends on kind of a downer in that regard. It doesn't end happily ever
Let's
after.
say this for it though. As much as I love this movie, and I've said before, it might be my favorite horror movie of all time. I don't know. There are times that when I watch it, it feels like there's an act missing.
I feel that.
From which part? Like between what and what?
I mean, it just ends so abruptly, and there's something missing. I can't put my finger on it. I kind of
feel like they maybe should have set up either more backstory or like
find out that Alex is pregnant at the end.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. Like what you just said, Abby. That's sort of the perfect thing to fill it out just a little bit more and make it feel like it has like, I don't know, more of an open-ended beginning and end kind of a thing. I can see what he's saying. It does end very abruptly and start very abruptly when you think about it. Like you're just sort of dropped into this at the beginning, and then at the end you're just sort of yanked out of it, I guess.
Bye. What are you gonna say, Adam?
No silver bullets.
No silver bullets. They don't need them.
Well,
I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
I don't really like
movies that
I love this movie, but I can't critique
old rules because I watched also in preparation for this like Ginger Snaps, and then I think we did do like half a Late Phases viewing. I don't remember if I finished that alone or not, but it doesn't matter to the point of this. The point is, I watched a few werewolf movies, and some of them do away with those old conventional things. On one
That's
hand,
like the one
I'm a
thing.
fan of
That's
them
like the one. There's two things: the full moon and silver bullet. Those are like the two quintessential things that you need when you're making your werewolf movie. I don't know.
Yes and no. I mean, the fact that you turn into a crazed fucking animal that can tear people limb from limb.
Like you're already making that
that's
leap.
That's already pretty crazy.
Why not go just a tiny bit farther up the chain?
I think that it would be difficult for them to kill him. Nobody believes in werewolves, so nobody has silver bullets just hanging.
I mean, the doctor suddenly went to East Proctor and was
well, I think he believes that they were
all it takes is the screenwriter to make that scene happen.
I don't think he believed. I really don't think he believed that David was an actual wolf until the end. I think he believed that the town and David were involved in this group psychosis, and that in doing so and believing that he was this wolf could hurt someone or himself. But I don't think the doctor ever believed.
I think he thought that in the beginning.
Actually going to transform into something until it happened. I think he was as surprised as everybody. Oh,
Yeah,
Perhaps.
that makes some sense to me. I mean,
My whole thing is just like, you're making a werewolf film. You've followed the formula to every nook and cranny except for this one major thing.
yeah.
I mean, with something like ginger snaps, it works because it makes it to where it's believable that it's some animal that could have bit these fucking edgy goth girls in their backyard or whatever, and then not had
Edgy
really
goth girls.
evidence.
Because the thing of it is, it's definitely like, okay, because we're definitely saying the supernatural exists. It's not just like some virus, therefore it's like a natural mutation that we just don't know about. Like they incorporate the supernatural with the undead and all that stuff. So
Right.
the supernatural exists, then the werewolf is supernatural.
Do you feel that way with vampires and like garlic, or that doesn't? It's not as much.
Well, I mean, garlic is just sort of like, I never saw that as a main way to kill a vampire.
I'm
it's
curious.
Steak in the heart, steak in the heart, sunlight. Those are your two main things. And most vampire films, like they keep a lot of vampire films nowadays, all they keep is sunlight as the
yeah. Like I said, decapitation and sunlight seems to be the main
steak to the heart.
I always like the steak though. I always
go
like
for a steak right now.
Me too.
Well, it's also easier for something like that though to spread if there isn't some wily like, oh, you got to kill it with a silver bullet.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it would never have been able to end the way it did with the cops and everything else if we held on to that trope. I don't think that the villagers.
Hear me out.
Okay.
He's still cornered in that little alley. The cops are about to shoot him up in a building, like a couple flights up is the doctor that has like Oswald with the fucking silver bullet. The cops think they kill him, but it's actually him that takes him out.
I'm with it. I mean, that could work.
That would have fucking rolled. I don't know if that would have rolled, but it's something that came. You can write it in.
I like.
You can make it happen.
I love the traditional thing where you have to have silver bullets and stuff, but then I also kind of like when they do it where it's more of like a believable creature that.
Right. I guess like in Dog Soldiers, they didn't. Were they killing them in Dog Soldiers with conventional means? Yes, they were.
I feel like
just with like.
Yeah, they didn't have silver bullets in that. They had machine guns and shit. They were soldiers.
Right. Okay.
So other than
like
silver
already turning into a wolf,
the werewolf
is
TV
pretty
show,
crazy OP, right? Like, also needing to be killed with special silver because of religious reasons is kind of
But that's the thing. It's not. I don't know. I never saw it as religious. I just saw it as just weird thing. Like the only thing that could kill them was silver.
Like iron kills fairies, silver kills werewolves, and
iron kills fairies.
Yeah.
Yep.
I believe that's even in games like EverQuest and shit. Like you'll get
iron
penalties.
Really?
And
such.
And ghosts, actually, you can hurt a ghost with iron. So keep a fireplace poker handy if you have ghosts.
But I mean, when you go through all that, that's like religious stuff, right? Like, what if that ghost, like, fucking, what if he died as part of the, Muslim Brotherhood or whatever?
See, I really only think
he's just not gonna recognize your fucking iron.
I think the holy water and the cross is for vampires. Like, I don't think the iron is a religious thing to me, but I don't really know. I do love.
I think when we trace it all back with folklore and fucking actual minerals, it's probably religious because those people come up with
the silver thing actually originated with vampires. Like that was the actual folklore.
Yeah, I feel like.
And then the movie stole it for werewolves.
Son of a
but I still want to see it just because I like my werewolf movies to be in a nice little neat line. and
I guess
everybody
I can
gets killed the same way.
appreciate both. You know, I like when they take it in that real world, like contagion animal side of things, and then I also do like where there's like silver bullets and all that shit. You know?
Because the best part of a werewolf movie is when they go to the gunsmith
For their
And they-
nephew and get a bullet made.
and they have to tell them a crazy story about why they need a silver bullet.
Because my nephew is into.
True
like
enough,
that's
but
a great scene. Always in a
it
werewolf
is a
movie.
great
It's like-
scene. But there are several werewolf movies that would, you know, I guess propose the idea that you don't need that to be a good werewolf movie, and
Right.
this
True.
is kind of
Very
one
true.
of those. You know,
Like Dog Soldier.
as
is one
much
of
as
them.
I love the guy like melting down a crucifix to make it into bullets to kill a vampire,
It's always a great scene.
sharpening
It's just like-
fucking stakes for like a crossbow or something that shoots vampire stakes.
I need one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I
Or like
love all that
Rudy
stuff.
making them on the sly in shop class in Monster Squad.
Putting the rosary
Monster
beads
Squad,
in the
I love that
shotgun,
movie.
you know, like all that stuff. That's all cool, but I guess there's times where it works. Like I think if, like, look at Ginger Snaps. If that movie was spent with those like cringy goth kids trying to figure out werewolf lore the whole time, it'd be a way lamer movie than it is. But
Agreed.
they just treat it like a regular animal that sort of infects you like rabies, and but then you become one of those animals, you know.
And Catherine Elizabeth throws a tail, which I think is fun.
It is fun.
It's a little tail.
I don't know. I think this movie handles it perfectly because it leaves a lot of those questions up to nerds like us to talk about long after we should have been done talking about this film. I don't know, favorite scenes, and then we'll get into plugs because you guys certainly have things you need to plug. So, favorite scene of the movie, if you had to pick one. We'll give you a little bit of a bumper rule where you can do like a favorite dialogue scene, and then you can do a favorite scene. So,
all right, you know, I'm torn between the Nazi nightmare and the first transformation.
I think the
Very
first
good.
transformation is the one that sticks with me the most. And like I said, just him, you know, shouting, "I'm sorry I called you a meatloaf," or whatever he says. Like I
love it.
I
It almost chokes me up when he says it because it's like you know that he feels
The-
so bad that he was such a dick to Jack.
he blew him
about it,
off. He thought
you
he was
know.
crazy. But the pain in his eyes, I mean, he does really good. I have a thing with people that scream in movies. And if you don't have a good scream, it actually just irritates the fuck out of me.
I feel you.
He, and I'm sure a lot of it is you know, helped out, but I feel his pain when he's going through that. You know, he's sitting there all fine and nice, and then just the oh god, you know, when his head's about to split. I love that scene. I think it's perfection. I really do.
It is.
Plays it perfectly.
How was
If I
just reading the
coulda-
book and suddenly like he's cool, and then a minute, boom, he's in agony. Yeah.
Yeah, it like literally goes from 1 to 100. It's just his head is about to split open, and he rips his clothes off, and
And it's so believable.
it's so believable.
Burning up.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And he's ripping his fucking shirt off. And
It's so good. He's so underrated. I think I don't know why he doesn't do more.
I'm really
Dude
surprised
does not
he
get
didn't.
enough credit for this, even though he gets.
Dude,
a
I
lot of
really
credit
think
for
that
it.
the Dr. Pepper thing derailed his career. I'm serious. He was the it guy for a minute. He was the it guy.
Yeah.
He had the
Well, he
Dr.
did
Pepper
Dr. Pepper
thing. He was
before this
dancing
movie.
around.
I would say he had
yeah,
Naked It.
But then he wasn't. And
But
it fucked
He's
him
a
up.
lovely man. I hope you all get to meet him someday if you haven't already.
I
Not
have
yet,
met him.
but I would like to.
He's a doll. Griffin Dunn was just at a convention and I didn't make it there because he's on my list of people that I need to meet in person and just hug. But David Naughton I met at my very first convention, and I didn't even pay. Like I just asked him, "Can I take a picture of you?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he took a picture with me. And actually, John Landis was
Different
at that
times.
convention, and I met John Landis, which is kind of cool.
Different times indeed.
Yeah.
I remember that. You could just like walk up to Robert Englund.
Now
And
that's
be like,
about
"Hey!"
like that.
$50, $60.
Yeah.
Just to be in the fucking same room with them. Then they're
Yeah.
gonna charge you another $50 or $60 to get the picture and the autograph.
Yeah, cons, and we could do a whole other episode on cons.
Cons.
What
Oh,
a
God.
fucking
Because
scam!
I'm old school con. Like I started conventions in 2009. I don't know if that's old school, but it's been a number of years that I've been going to them.
2003 for me. And
Yeah, it's changed.
Come buy a
long
ticket.
way.
I would
so
love
that
to
we
go to more.
allow you to spend more money.
Yeah, I would love to go to more cons, but I just do not. There's just too expensive for me to go to. Like they're cheap enough for me to get into, but to like actually
meet anybody.
Well,
so to me, conventions have become more about just seeing 200
Community.
acquaintances. Yeah, just in one
And
building.
I just feel like there's a better way to do it than spending
Yeah.
all that money. We can all
Right.
just hang out.
I went to I was like feature
go.
feature.
I'm not a autograph or a photo op guy, so I go. I like smoke a blunt in the parking lot.
No, for me, the easiest way to meet my favorite.
Drink some beers,
I was gonna say
hang out.
I would say these days for me, the way I meet my favorites, I meet all my favorite like actors or celebrities is just to go to, is like if they're performing in a play here in New York.
Yeah.
Go wait outside after the show.
I miss shows. I miss Broadway so much.
I met all y'all. I drove to Atlantic City to meet these guys, and it was at a con. And I got there, and the entire time, the entire reason I was there was to meet these people. So like, I had no idea who was at this con. I'm walking around like, oh look, that person's there. That person's there. I had no clue.
Okay.
And
there's still a couple of people that are big time on my list that I'm dying to meet, and I just can't afford it anymore. Like Henry Winkler's finally coming to Monster Mania. I've been asking for him for 10 years. I won't be there, but
see, dudes like you are the reasons I go to cons.
Well, exactly. It's just seeing my people.
Regional cons, definitely. I've
cool thing about cons has always been you can walk up to anyone and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like
I have a good time there.
I don't know who you are. I
better
don't
or
know where
worse.
you're from. I don't know what your story is, but hey, you want to talk about Lost Boys for a second? Like,
Yeah.
That's the fucking thing about cons. It's like you know that you have something in common with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing because you don't have that in all walks of life.
And we have Melissa Rose. That's all.
I'm not going to pay for that anymore.
I'll pay to go to the con. I'll pay to go to the panels and watch the Q&As. And
y'all should come
hang out
to
with friends.
Florida in October and come to Spook Hollow with me.
But yeah, for me,
I'll come to Florida to see you.
I go to Broadway shows and then like Q&A, I go to the movies and go to Q&A screenings.
Henry Winkler.
So yeah, we used to do when I lived in New Jersey. We would do that a lot. Like I went to a Q&A actually at Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith. They were doing Red State. John Goodman was there.
There you go.
What's her name? Melissa. I don't know. All the actors were there, and they you watch the movie and then the Q&As afterwards. Kevin Smith. If you ever see him in a Q&A, just make sure you're there like an extra 6 hours.
I should mention. So actually, if you went earlier this year, I went to Swad Castle because Kevin Smith was hosting a screening of Batman Returns.
Yes, I remember that.
And I got to ask him a question, and he answered it, which to me was a bucket list item checked off.
He's a fucking riot. I saw him at Count Basie in Red Bank, and he literally, like, usually these places close at 11 o'clock at night. He'll go to like 3 a.m. till they make him leave and just keep asking questions. It's great. But
It's gonna be a long time before I forget that NFT movie, Kevin.
Oh God.
NFT movie?
It was a movie that you had to like. It was exclusively you had to.
It was Kilroy.
Yeah, it was this movie that he made that it was an NFT, like a oh God, what the fuck does that NFT stand for? But it's basically you're basically paying
fungible.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
But yeah, you're paying top dollar for a digital copy.
Someone finally leaked it, and it's pretty ass, I guess. From what I've seen, it's just I don't know. I honestly probably would have liked it if it had came out and we got to actually see it.
Yeah.
But since we're not rich tech bro douchebags,
we
didn't get to watch.
I should have been
movie.
a rich techno douchebag. It would have been. I would be okay with that.
Well, you'd certainly have more access to Wu-Tang albums and Kevin Smith movies and dumb fucking ape pictures. You know, like,
I grew up
don't
around the
understand
corner from
what
Kevin
even
Smith.
happened
I
with
feel he's
NFTs.
ours. He's a Jersey boy at heart, no matter whatever happens to him.
Well, Jersey boy.
I'm trying to
fucking
think of my
farted in
favorite
everyone's
scene of
mouth
this
with that
movie,
one.
and I'm struggling.
The shower scene.
Well,
Good one.
I'll tell you what. For a scene that doesn't show much, practically no nudity. I think you see a little bit of butt crack, and that's it. It's hot as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, you
It's
see his butt more
steamy.
than anybody's, but
It's very
Like
steamy.
when I saw this, like that preteen Adam, you know,
Of
with
course.
just
hormonal.
jizz
Adam.
shooting out of my ears at the time.
Yeah.
You know, like it was the perfect fucking time to see this. You see that. And Jenny, I always called her Jenny a gutter, by the way. I don't know if that's
A gutter?
a gutter.
Like you're born.
Isn't it Agutter?
I think it's Agater.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah, I
supposed
think
to
it's
say it quick.
Agater. Let's see. Let's see if I go
I
outside.
think you're all
here.
wrong.
It
think
does a
you're
good
wrong.
job of
I have
like,
no
being
idea.
steamy for our purposes, but when you watch it, like I watched this around Mixed Company, and that scene's definitely too long for Mixed Company. Yeah, it could
Yeah,
use
for
a track.
sure. Well, it just lingers too long.
Yeah,
If it was
so
just the
then
cut,
people
if
start
it was
sorta
like
side-eyeing
20,
you, like,
30
is this
seconds,
movie that
you'd be all
crazy?
right. It just
If it was 20, 30 seconds, it'd be a lot more than what I was used to.
keeps. Oh, Abby.
That was bad sex humor.
That's why you gave it up.
Even then, this thing's like fucking
Jenny a gutter. It's got to
3
be
minutes long.
Agutter. What are you guys calling her?
I think it's Agater.
Why?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is Agater.
There's no eyes.
I agree with you. Why, but it is.
Agutter.
I think just because I've
It's a
heard her
gutter.
say her name. I don't think I.
Man,
Yeah,
Disagree.
it's a weird one.
We need more of that.
So you guys clearly have done some good episodes lately. What are the ones you want to plug right now?
Well, so Hormonal Werewolves 3, as you mentioned before, we just finished both of Adam's birthday picks, which were Legend and Beastmaster. So for each of our birthdays, we've decided we get to choose the 2 movies for each of our birthdays. So those were Adam's picks, which we just did since he has a May the 4th birthday. Super fancy. So yeah, we did that. Our next upcoming episode that we're going to actually film this Wednesday, but it's not going to be released for a couple weeks, is Little Shop of Horrors, the original and the remake in one episode, which I think is going to be banging.
It's going to be sick.
Because I know Ryan said he's not a huge fan of the original. I love the original. I love the
I
musical.
like it.
It's fun.
I like the second. I like the remake more, but I do love
The remake is a more fun movie, but the original does not get enough credit. It's a good time.
Agreed.
And actually really funny.
Same.
And a very young Jack Nicholson.
Yes, and you also have to give Roger Corman for getting that movie made in 2.5 days.
Fucking Dick, what's his name?
Miller.
Dick Miller. I love him. Him just eating carnations through this whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the next couple of weeks we're going to catch up on some stuff we filmed in the past. We Adam and Ryan did a Godzilla episode, which is coming out soon, which should be a lot of fun. And Ryan and I did a musical episode on Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which is a personal favorite of mine. Adam does not care for musicals. I don't know if you know this about him, but
I like them if they're good.
I mean,
Adam doesn't like, but he does like Little Shop of Horrors. So
yeah, I do.
it's the only musical he likes.
Yeah,
We made him watch.
I like Andrew Lloyd Webber, Phantom of the Opera. Does that count?
What's that?
I like Andrew Lloyd
Yeah,
Webber.
it
Phantom of the
counts.
Opera.
It does count.
I don't like the movie though, but I like the
I
actual
saw
show.
the play.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in Toronto when I was a kid.
Me too. Yeah, dude. Me
In
too.
Toronto?
Why is that funny? Why is Toronto funny?
Because you went to Toronto to see.
Man, you went to Toronto, man.
I would say for those of us, well, because
You sat
you're
on
from-
whoopee cushions.
'cause I was gonna say you're from
Toronto.
Western PA. I'm from upstate New York. For us, Toronto is closer and cheaper than New York. That was closer and cheaper than going to New York City to see a play.
Good point.
For sure. Yeah, it was a
Right.
big deal when we went. We
First
didn't
time
need
I saw Phantom.
we didn't need a passport at the time.
I was
remember
12
that.
or 13 when I first saw Phantom, and that was back when New York City used to be like, I remember going down
Dangerous.
42nd Street and seeing my first prostitute on the street corner it was snowing out, so she had a full fur coat on, and then she would open up her coat and just have like a bra and panties underneath. And I was like 12 years old with my friend's family going, I don't know what's happening.
I remember those days. Mine was on the streets of Portland, though, so it was not a fur coat he was wearing. Different
Your
times,
first
I guess.
prostitute.
Yeah, well, the one that my dad pointed out to me, like, that's a hooker, and I was like, "What's a hooker?"
Well.
He explained it. Yeah.
Meet your new mommy.
Anyway, I don't have like a podcast or anything to promote, but I do a thing for orphans, for like kids that need a big brother, like a big brother program. I do like a amateur judo lesson thing in the park,
Which is just Adam punching small children in the park.
and it's every Tuesday through Thursday. I'm probably going to start in June. I haven't even started yet. This is just like things I've been thinking about doing. So anyway, if anybody wants to learn judo from me, it's going to start in June.
That sounds glorious, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I love a day of sweaty tossing and us watching horror films together. That sounds amazing.
Come get some.
Just in the park, we go get a hot dog.
I'll give all your kids like a cool nickname, like Slowpoke or
All right. Only have one right
Snake
now,
Eyes.
but another one on the way.
Skippy.
You have another one on the way?
Yep.
Is that what I just heard?
True story.
Wait,
Huh?
what?
We'll talk more about that after we're off.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Definitely
Surprise!
happy to have you guys tonight. Forrest, you got anything to plug? Any other fucking Law and Order episodes you're going to be showing up on in the near future?
No, but I was so I had a movie recently called that I was in. I was in it in a bit role as well as an associate producer called Screamwalkers.
Screamwalkers, yeah.
Shot on video slasher flick. Premiered at Creature Feature Weekend last month.
Ooh.
And then new season of Daredevil on Disney Plus, premiering March 2025. I'm in that.
Nice.
You appear alongside us in Amityville Webcam, which is out now through SRS
Yes,
Video,
that too.
I believe.
And I filmed all my scenes, and I actually went to the real Amityville to film all my scenes.
Really?
Fair enough.
Yeah,
That's
I went to the actual house where it happened.
I hate that they redid the windows because it doesn't.
Yeah.
The one thing that you think
It
of
could
when
just
you
be
think
any
of
house if you take away the windows.
That's what I mean.
It's
like
almost like they want people to stop fucking taking pictures.
Taking
in their
pictures
lawn.
of their house.
Leave us alone. Let us live our lives.
It's almost.
I don't know if
as
it's
they want you to
supernatural
throw
or
the
what,
book away.
but the house done changed its windows. Yeah, Amityville Webcam. You're in there with us. Were you involved with Teddy Scare?
No, but for some reason I got tagged in a post about it, and I get really annoyed when people tag me in posts about projects that I have no involvement with.
Yeah.
I really wish they would
me
knock it
too.
off.
But I ended up in that movie somehow. I think we did a podcaster perk or something, and that got picked up through proper like distribution. So you can buy a movie that I'm in for no good reason at Walmart.
I'll buy it.
So
I'll buy that shit.
Teddy Scare out
I'll buy
there.
that shit.
I'll buy them all.
Pick that piece of shit up because I'm in there somewhere.
So-
Actually, every movie.
Mo, is the Godzilla proposal going to happen during the show or off air?
Off air, but it'll probably be announced real soon. I feel, like,
alright.
especially given what was. Just
I'm
announced by you guys.
I'm on pins and needles.
That sounds like a
That's all I have to plug. Actually, I was just in some movies that Forrest's probably going to talk about, anyways. What else have you been in, man? Amityville Thanksgiving is that
Amityville Turkey. Oh, Amityville Turkey Day that recently came out.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ryan will be covering that one soon. Our other co-host has literally been working his way through. He does the Amityville retrospective.
All of them. He
started with the first movie and is going all the way through.
His goal is to review every Amityville movie, like ever.
Yeah. And
like we're talking hundreds of movies, aren't we?
Amityville.
It's a fucking
maybe not
vacuum.
hundreds.
Like, despite hating them myself, I'm now in 3 Amityville movies. So once you enter yourself into that equation, you're gonna be in the equation. You're gonna,
I'm not.
Ryan will eventually be in.
I'm not in any Amityville movies.
I am not either.
You will be. We've talked about it,
which is sad.
Yeah,
I should be, but I'm not.
At some point, you'll be in there talking to Ryan about the Amityville movies, and that'll get picked up by something that puts that into a film, and you'll have an IMDb credit. It's just the way that it works, dude.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Like I said, I did not give a shit about this stuff, and then all of a sudden, I'm in 3 Amityville movies somehow.
I locked my cat out. Sorry, dude. Didn't know you were outside.
I mean, that's awesome.
Confusion is the same thing I wear on my face every time it gets brought up. Like, what? All right. Yeah. That's apparently true. But see, I don't know, man. I have a different feeling about our appearances and a lot of this stuff compared to my friends. Like, I don't know if I like buying our way into these movies, even as a podcaster perk. Like,
I never pay for a role.
I've never done it individually, but I've been part of doing it for our podcast. And I don't know if that's the way. I don't know if I like it.
I think it depends on who you're doing it for. The people that I help with the crowdfunding, I genuinely like their work. I mean, I know my taste in movies is not everybody's taste in movies. I definitely like bad indie movies but like
Even
I said,
still,
I'm not paying to be in a movie. I'm paying to buy a DVD and saying, "Here, use this money for my future
or maybe
DVD to make your movie."
a separate donate. I mean, I've donated stuff.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know if I like the donating stuff and then they put our podcast in the movie thing. I mean,
I don't mind
the
that.
other people involved in this are obviously stoked. I'm probably being a dick by saying this like publicly.
I don't think so, but I think as long as you like follow your heart with it, you do it for the people that you want to help out. There are, and I know who Adam is talking about when he says these things. I can read his
my heart
mind.
says donate, but don't put the podcast in the film because that just feels like you bought in.
I'll give an entire paycheck to a film that I think that I'd like to watch.
Exactly.
But the problem with these movies is I know I would never want to watch them. So I'm not going to give a cent. Not 1 cent.
See now,
you don't get 1 cent. Not one.
With the indie horror movies that some of my friends make,
horseshit.
like I literally watch them over and over again. Like I've seen Bloody Summer Camp like 6 times.
You're irreverent. You're irreverent for
producer on
comedy.
Oh, were
this
you?
One's
yeah,
about
it was.
a toothpick. Isn't that?
So like Dave
funny?
Kerr's movies, I love them.
Slasher 15, they're awesome.
Macabre Mountain, I
Good
just
dude.
watched from Xander Goldman, rather not Alexander, Xander Goldman. Like I loved it. I've watched it multiple times. Get Out, I've watched it 5-6 times already. They're just fun for me. Yeah, the movie Get Out. Not the
Jordan Peele.
Oh wait, I think you mean Go. It's called Go Away. Not Get It.
Oh, Go Away. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Would help if I had the movie.
That indie horror movie, Get Out.
Yeah, well, Get Out, good movie, but Go Away. I've literally watched Go Away like 6 times. I love it. I crack up every time. They're comfort movies for me. I like playing them in the background.
I love them. I think filmmaking doesn't really differentiate between budget. Like if you're a dude that has real passion for making a movie, you're going to be able to make something that people are going to be able to relate to or enjoy.
The Schlockmeisters always point to Trauma, and they're like, "Well, Trauma calls everything schlock."
I think that's the opposite.
But but Trauma, there's some artistic integrity there.
There's some.
It's not just but they're trying to do something. What it is, I couldn't fucking tell you, but they're trying to do something. You know,
Well, you
like
could see it in Full Moon too.
there's a
really.
vision.
Like,
There's a
Yes.
vision there.
Full Moon, Empire, those kind
Full
of
Moon
movies.
is
Yeah.
just well
And I
funded
don't-
schlock. You know, it's the same
Spend
thing. Trauma's
$5
doing.
so they say Adam sucks eggs out of the blue in the middle of the fucking movie.
No, I agree with you with that. With just saying, like, I'm going to pay to just walk on your movie and say something that makes no difference in this film whatsoever. I mean, I did the bit, although I didn't pay for it. I just did it for fun. Was like the Crickfoot movie. Like,
I mean,
like, that's
to
just
do it for fun, like whatever. Yeah, I mean that's
That's it.
no
I've been
skin
part of
off.
paying for
That's no
it.
skin off your
I
back.
just I don't like it. That's kind of where we got to this with this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
I'm
get
not
it.
about it, man. I mean, it's if you like
I'm
our
not about it
podcast,
either,
then
Mo.
put it in there as like a podcast that talked about it. But I'm not gonna pay you $250 or
Oh, fuck no.
you
Is
know,
that how much
I
it
love
is?
you,
or
but
whatever to do it.
No.
I
But
don't
I
care
also
about
have
that
a
shit.
lot of friends that are in the filmmaking business. So if I gave to every single person that was making a movie, I'd be more broke than I am currently.
Yeah.
I mean, here's
So you gotta,
here's how the movie industry works. If your last movie makes enough money, you can take that money and make a new movie. If your last movie doesn't, there's a reason. And you
well,
can't keep following the same formula and same
But in
budget.
the indie horror,
You can't do
scene,
it.
People
Different, yeah.
will, and
Like
they
it
will
sucked.
definitely.
My last
keep
movie
following
sucked,
that
so I'm going to do the
formula
same exact formula. This
and
time
give
with the
you
killer
another
watermelon.
movie that sucks.
but did you have fun
because-
with it? Did you have
No.
a good time?
No,
Well,
no,
you didn't make the movie.
it's dumb.
It's dumb.
It's
I think we
dumb.
could
As
find some ones
spoken.
that you would like, dude. But of like low budget, kitschy movies like that. It's a thing.
I just
I think
watched
there's stories
Slasher.
out there
There's
for
effort.
everyone.
Slasher Nurse. That was awesome.
I mean, I can tell when something is
I'm
made with no
sorry,
effort.
sorry to bring up the conversation. I got to run. So, but it was nice talking. It
No
was
It was
problem,
nice to
bud.
meet you,
nice to meet
Forrest.
you.
You
Nice
have a good
talking. Rick Wolf
Nice to
from
meet you,
London.
Forrest.
Hopefully we'll talk
Forrest.
chat again
Sorry.
soon.
Have a great night.
You too.
Have a good one.
Bye. I did the Run Forrest Run. I really just did that.
And we're gonna just